This is the Brandon Stadium and we are just outside Coventry for round 4 of the Speedway Grand Prix this year, live and exclusive here on Sky Sports, and you join us in the studio. To my immediate left is Kelvin Tatum, Sam Emalenko and Gary Havelock, all world champions and all going to give us the expertise that we need to work out every trick that's out on the track, I think. Let's take a look and see who's riding tonight. Here it is then, Tony Richardson, Billy Hamill, Chris Louis and Lee Adams will be out in the first heat. Ryan Sullivan, Peter KARLSSON, Greg Hancock, Todd WILTSHIRE, Joe Screen, Jimmy Nielsen, Antonin Kasper and Michael KARLSSON. These aren't in heat order, as I thought they might be immediately. Karja, Stonehewer, Jorgensen, Gustafsson. And we look now at huge amounts here of support for Stoney, gentlemen. The three guys I've got here, I mean, we have unprecedented amount of support. I've never seen so many people in a Speedway stadium.
No, it's superb. It's fantastic that they've come to support the British riders as well as the Continentals. But we just saw a glimpse of Carl Stonehewer's support from Workington. I was talking to his team manager earlier, Ian Thomas, and he was saying how wonderfully well it's going. And for a guy riding in the Premier League to be competing at this level is just, well, it's extraordinary, really.
Well, there we have pit lane. Sam, the weather here, it's been dousing the track a little bit. It's been messing everyone around with obviously what they're considering to be the right setup for here. How do you think they feel down there? Nervous a little bit?
Well, they'll have mixed feelings, but the first thing they want to do is put the line of business in. Right now we're just halfway into the Grand Prix series, and the guys that aren't at the top of the ladder of the Grand Prix having a chance to win it overall, they're probably looking to make sure that they can just keep themselves in the frame without going into the challenge, because what happens is after the first 8, the rest of the guys got to re-qualify for this Grand Prix. So the top guys that are running for the championship right now are out there to look to win this thing, and the other guys are probably thinking we're going to win it, but at the same time they're thinking about let's secure our position for next year as well.
So an awful position to be in, really. You've got to cover your backside, is what you're telling us.
Just like when it's raining. Basically, when it's raining, you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
What's the track like? Well, we got Gary. He can tell us a little bit about the track. While Kelvin, we got plenty of Mark Laram supporters around here. Gary, are you one of them?
Yeah, I certainly am. You know, Mark's, I ride with him week in, week out at Poole, and you know, if anybody doesn't know how well he rides, he can come to Poole on a Wednesday night and watch him, because he's just week in, week. You see him in the GPs and he does it. Well, I see him week in, week out, and he does it every race. He's there on it, 110%, hanging off the bike.
For me, he is the man, basically, that whether he makes the gate or not, I've never seen a man that races like Mark Laram. Do we all agree on that?
Very exciting, especially with his the way he moves his arms and what he does, and he's always trying.
Naturally to him. You talk to him after a race where he's just done a screamer of a race, come from last to first. It's just all in the night's work to Mark, you know what I mean? He just takes it on board.
He's not careful a bit. He comes in and gives it big handfuls of throttle.
The men we're going to see giving it big handfuls. The first heat tonight is Ryan Sullivan, bike number 8, Michael KARLSSON on 12, Ryan Karja on 14, and Lee Richardson, the wild card. He's out there with a lot of work to do, and he's going off the outside of the grid in yellow and black. And I can introduce to you now our UGP team, of course, of Peter. He's a world champion, champions everywhere on Sky Sports. And of course, Tony Millard, the man who is going to keep it covered for us all evening. Over to you guys.
Oh, good evening and welcome here to Brandon State. I can tell you the biggest sporting crowd anywhere in England today is congregated packing this arena here. Conditions perhaps during the afternoon a bit heavy, a bit humid and a bit of rain, but for the riders now, perhaps the track is in quite good condition. That man in blue is Michael KARLSSON, currently 11th in the Grand Prix standings, the Swede. He'll be going from gate number 2. In yellow and black there is Lee Richardson, back in action for the first time since we saw him in a league meeting. Of course, Lee Richardson suffering a little kidney stroke liver problem, but now I understand well on the way back. That man in blue, Michael KARLSSON, the Swede. Lee Richardson on the outside. Peter Collins alongside me. Lee on his home league track, but not ridden a lot recently.
No, he's been struggling with an illness, but they seem to have sorted it out for him now. And I spoke to him before the meeting tonight, and he was looking pretty sharp, Tony.
There's the lineup. Ryan Sullivan on the inside in red, the Aussie. The Swede, Michael KARLSSON, goes from gate 2. Grant Carger, the Dane, goes from gate 3. And Lee Richardson, the wild card from Coventry and England, goes from the outside. That's the lineup in this heat number 1. Riders a little bit nervous. Very, very humid here, Peter, and I just wonder whether that'll affect their visors misting up a little bit.
Yeah, I would think so. It's probably about 24 degrees tonight, and it's certainly very hot in the box where we are here, right outside the start. And there on the white helmet, Brian Carter coming up to take, but the track does look very grippy. We might see some real fast...
Here we go, the starting marshal Gary Stewart hooks away, nearly a full start there, and look, real problems for Michael KARLSSON, but battling up front, Lee Richardson on his home track. The wild card from Britain, the youngster who rode for Paul before, has got just the start he wanted here. Ahead of him, second place, Brian Sullivan. Third in white there is Brian Carter. Real disappointment though for KARLSSON, but look at Lee Richardson.
Yeah, he's flying. What a fabulous start. Like I said, I spoke to him before the match, and he's on a course of antibiotics for a month, and it certainly seems to be working now. They've identified what's wrong with him, and he's away.
Lee Richardson into the third lap here now, but really flying ahead of Brian Sullivan, the Aussie. A struggle a little bit now for Brian Carter. Real disappointment for Michael KARLSSON out of this, but he'll have another go. The pair of them will be going in heats 5 and 6, but with a lap to go, the wild card, Lee Richardson, has the cheers of the Coventry fans here. He's got the right racing line. In fact, he's extended his lead down the back straight there. And the home fans are loving this one with Lee Richardson in the yellow helmet colour. Here go the cheers. He's even got time to look back. A tremendous win for Lee Richardson ahead of Brian Sullivan in red. Third place goes to the Dane, Brian Carter in white. But what a ride by that man, the number 24. The wild card, Lee Richardson, his Grand Prix debut, and a really fantastic ride by the former World Under-21 champion. A great effort by him, and the crowd of around 15,000 here knows perhaps that we could have surprises on the cards, because didn't he fly? That man, Lee Richardson there. What a ride by the youngster, and certainly from the start he did well.
Yeah, fabulous start. He's on the outside position there in the yellow helmet, and he just comes right across the front of everybody else. And you know, Lee is the under-21 world champion for last year, and he's still that at the moment until they run the final again this year. And on the start we can see here the rider in blue. It looks as though Michael KARLSSON's made a good start when he catches Brian Carter in the white, puts Brian right to the outside, but from the outside there in the yellow and black, Lee Richardson has just pulled right down there. You can see that the track, there are no marks on the track in heat 1 when you go out. He's leaving those tyre marks right down on the inside. You can see him come from the outside start, right across the front there of Ryan Sullivan. Ryan really does have a good ride, but he can do nothing really to get anywhere near Lee Richardson, and this is how we've been missing Lee Richardson this year.
Well, there's the track, and Lee Richardson, certainly the wild card, winning that heat from England. Ron Sullivan, the Aussie, in second place. Both of those march on to heat 7 and 8, respectively. Brian Carter and Michael KARLSSON will have to finish in the first two, in respectively heats 5 and heat 6, if they're going to stay in the meeting. As we move on now to heat number 2. The riders coming out, man in white, there is Carl Stonehewer. We saw earlier on, of course, the Brit. There we see Carl Stonehewer. Michael Lee doing his motors for him, Peter, as we talked about earlier this year, and certainly Carl Stonehewer benefiting a little bit. The man in yellow there, Martin Dugard, the wild card going from the outside. Third in the current British League averages, Martin Dugard. Peter KARLSSON there. We saw him in the league action in midweek, in the red helmet colours, will go from the inside. And Tony Kasper is the man in the blue helmet colours. Still an Eastbourne asset here, the Czech Republic rider. But what about the chances of Martin Dugard, the second wild card here?
Well, Martin's having a great season, there's no doubt about that. He's having a brilliant season for Eastbourne, and there he is on the outside start position. We've just seen that Lee Richardson's just flown from that position, and I think Martin's up for this.
Here's the lineup then. Peter KARLSSON goes from the inside, the Swede in red. Tony Kasper, the Czech Republic rider, in blue from gate 2. Gate 3, Carl Stonehewer, backed by well over 1,000 fans from Workington down at the Coventry Stadium here tonight. And on the outside, Martin Dugard, family, friends and all, back in the Eastbourne captain. And certainly, well, a pretty good performance, and well, British triumph in heat number 1, Peter. Can we get a heat number 2?
Well, certainly we've got Martin in there. Carl Stonehewer, Carl's certainly the crowd's favourite. Certainly all these fans travel down from Workington will be expecting or hoping Carl's going to do well, and let's get behind him. I'm sure he's going to do well tonight.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. This is heat number 2. Remember, the 24. Martin Dugard, here is Cameron, the yellow helmet colour. Gary Suits, the starting marshal, walks away. Tony Steele, the referee, lifts up the tapes and away they go. And it's Dugard and Stonehewer, the English pair out front. Packing up at the rear in blue is Tony Kasper. Coming through to split them now is Peter KARLSSON. But Carl Stonehewer is out front. The Workington fans are cheering the roof off in the Towards one. In second place is red, Peter KARLSSON. Martin Dugard has him in his sights. Martin Dugard's trying the inside. KARLSSON blocking the way, but Stonehewer got a flyer.
Tony, that was a fabulous start from Carl Stonehewer. What a first car. He wasn't clear of the patch, but certainly he just flew out of there, and he's riding a perfect race, and certainly he's going great in this first ride.
Dugard picking it up as Karlsson fails, and now Dugard's in second place. Karlsson on the rear, just like his brother. Disaster striking in his first ride for the elder of the two Swedish brothers, Peter Karlsson, but now the Brits are in front in the white helmet collar. Carl Stonehill with half a lap to go, tracked by Martin Dugard. Both of these will march on to hit 7 and 8, and a real triumph for the Brits so far here tonight. The cheers greet Carl Stonehill's performance here in the white helmet colour. Ahead of in yellow, Martin Dugard. And third place goes to Tony Casper. Peter Karlsson, well, he packed up. But, well, what a night for the Brits. What a night for this young man. Carl Stonehill certainly enjoying himself here. Really brilliant ride by him. And, well, Peter, we'll have to catch our breath on that, because the effort of the Brits at the moment is exactly what we wanted to see. The checkered flag for Carl Stonehill, and the fans enjoying it.
Yeah, that was just unbelievable. There's Carl just riding around there in front of all those Workington fans, and what a start for him. Again, that's him there in the white helmet, right in the middle of the pack on the first turn. He goes down to the inside. Martin Dugard just on the outside of him. He takes Martin a little bit wide, and that allows Peter Karlsson there to come through into second place. Now Peter's having a good ride again on the start. You can see that dirt being thrown from the back wheel of Carl. His front wheel was just hovering then. He leans across. He's got the bike turned already, right in front of the pack there on that first turn, and a great first turn. Martin Dugard just a little bit on the edge there, pushed too wide. Martin didn't want to be out there, and that allowed Peter Karlsson there to shoot through on the inside.
Well, a fine performance by Martin Dugard there in second place behind Carl Stonehill. Top for the Brits. Tony Casper and Peter Karlsson follow. And now our Heat 1 winner, Lee Richardson, is with Susie Perry.
Well, Lee, out of that gate, you certainly meant business.
Yeah, I got a good start off gate 4 there, and seemed to get a good run to the corner, and then just rode my own race, really.
So you haven't been very well. Recently, it's been very well documented. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm not too bad. This is my first meeting back now in nearly 2 months properly, so I feel okay myself. I just got to keep on going now.
I was going to ask you, this being your home track, if it has any advantage to you, but really you haven't ridden very much at all, have you?
No, I haven't. Like I say, the last month, 2 months I've been out of action, so I haven't had much chance to have a bit of advantage, but the riders here, the cab probably know it's the same for everybody, so just got to try and do my stuff and get out the start.
Well, a great start and into heat 7 now. It must have been the hair that did it, Ailey.
Must have been go past the haircut, I think.
Well done.
Thanks.
We move on now then to heat number 3, and certainly some track specialists in this one. The man in the red helmet colour there is Greg Hancock, of course, the American former world champion, who rides here at Coventry on a regular basis and goes from the inside gate. The man in blue there is Jimmy Nilsson. Now he says back to fitness, the Swede, with a number 3 on his machine. In white is John Jorgensen, of course a man who's ridden for Coventry, back riding for them again now, on and off it seems. And on the outside, Brian Anderson in yellow and black, also the former Coventry captains. And track experts in this one, BC, as they line up here. Hancock on the inside, Nilsson, Jorgensen and Anderson in that order.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about Jimmy Nilsson. He's been a bit quiet since he had those injuries, shoulder injury and an arm injury, and we know he makes good starts, but he's got Greg Hancock, a local man here, 1997 world champion, on gate 1 next to him.
Well, there's the line-up. Our starting marshal, Gary Stooks, a busy man here tonight. Tony Steele, the British referee, up above. He will release the tapes. They fly up away in blue. A great start for Jimmy Nilsson. No worries about him on that form. Pursued by Greg Hancock. Hancock locks up. Round the outside goes Brian Anderson, the Dane. Hancock back in third place. Really struggling at the rear is John Jorgensen, but a flying start this time by Jimmy Nilsson. And he could have it all his own way this one.
Yes, Tony, as we can see, he is looking very sharp, very fit. He seems to be over those injuries. I know certainly in the last GP he looked very, very sore and painful, but really struggled. But here we go, Jimmy's having a great ride there, and Greg Hancock's back in third.
Jimmy Nilsson looking comfortable now, coming back from his injuries and looking to make ground in the Grand Prix Series. In second place, the Dane, Brian Anderson, the former Coventry captain, knowing the track like the back of his hand. In third place in red, something of a surprise for Greg Hancock. And tail off at the rear is John Jorgensen. All by Jimmy Nilsson, the race leader, of course, have lots of experience in Coventry. They're struggling on that top end, but now down the back straight, less than half a lap to go for Jimmy Nilsson to take the checkered flag. Hancock is trying to get on dirt, and Hancock comes through into second place in red there. A marvellous effort by Greg Hancock to do that. well into second place to relegate Brian Anderson to third, which means he'll have to battle back. And the Coventry fans will love the effort of Greg Hancock, but Jimmy Nielsen there shakes his hand. Jimmy Nielsen, the heat winner, but Greg Hancock bringing the surprise round that top bend to get second place and march on, the pair of them going to heats 7 and 8. And Jimmy Nielsen, though, of course, been injured for the last couple of Grand Prix, struggling somewhat, but here they're really flying from the start.
Yes, this is the start on the inside there, the home man, Greg Hancock. He doesn't make a good start there. Just look at Jimmy Nielsen in the blue. He's a full bike length up when he gets to the corner. Now, the track is a little bit tricky at the moment, but we've had a lot of rain early on. The water soaked right into the circuit, so there's grip everywhere at the moment. It is very grippy sort of down low, but Greg missed that start. But on the outside, having a good run round the outside is Brian Anderson, who goes round Greg Hancock, who loses a bit of ground there when he locks up too much. But certainly a great ride from Jimmy Nielsen just to hold on to that lead, and he never seemed to let the others catch him at all. And here we can see that Greg Hancock has just gone around the outside of Brian Anderson, who's just actually signed for Oxford, Tony.
Well, with success there, that heat 3, there we see Jimmy Nielsen ahead of Greg Hancock. Both move on to heat 7 and 8. Brian Anderson and John Jorgensen, they have to go again. But now Brits have been triumphing. The two that came in first and second in heat 2 are with Susie Perry.
Well, Martin, second place, a cheeky little manoeuvre there.
Yeah, a little bit lucky that Peter's train come off, but yeah, I was there or thereabouts. It's a bit slippery at the moment, but it'll make good racing later on tonight.
Look like you're really focused there.
More focused than I have been for a few years.
That's your form, though, hasn't it? You've so turned it around this year, Martin.
Yeah, I suppose everything, my whole speedway career has sort of been up and down the last couple of years, and it's just turned around this year, which is, I'm pleased, really.
OK, well done. And this one out. Carl, you said you were really nervous before. There was no need.
I still am nervous. Martin made a good start alongside of me, and I was in the right position, and I just nudged Martin out into the slimy stuff, and my bike just pulled me away down the straight then.
Carl, you ride in the Premier League. You're riding against the best riders in the world now. You know, it must be quite a big difference for you.
Well, Premier League racing's tough. You know, it's not as easy as what people make out. The only difference being is that the world's top 20 odd riders, aren't there?
Heat number 4 then, we move on to now. Heat number 4 on the inside, Todd Wiltshire goes in blue, Joe Screen, another Brit in gate 2. Henrik Gustafsson, the sweet gate 3. On the outside, it's Andy Smith in yellow and black. 7 Brits, remember, racing in this meeting, and so far, racing and riding with some considerable credit. Todd Wiltshire there, we see on the inside the red helmet colours. Our starting marshal will have to move away. The cheers around the stadium could go here for Joe Screen, who picks it up away from the tapes. Round the inside, oh, real problems indeed for Todd Wiltshire, as he seemed to hit Joe Screen's rear wheel here to allow moving into second place Henrik Gustafsson. And now Wiltshire will have to do it again from the back. But Joe Screen is so fast in this one that he has time to look back with a considerable space between him and the remaining riders. What a start by Joe, Peter.
That's lightning start for Joe Screen. We don't often see Joe make starts like that, but certainly Todd Wiltshire was riding the thick of things on that first corner. Todd's now battling there with Henrik Gustafsson for second and third place, but Todd's really not making much impression at the moment.
They're turning the struggle on that top end. Each in turn seems to lock up, but Joe Screen, a 4th Brit, going very, very well indeed so far tonight. And with a lap to go, surely Joe Screen is going to march on, riding those machines prepared now by Michael Lee, and going very, very well with half a lap to go. Joe Screen will take this with some comfort from Henrik Gustafsson in second place. A real battle at the back because Todd Wiltshire has packed up, but Joe Screen wins it in blue ahead of Henrik Gustafsson in white. Third place in yellow and black going to Andy Smith, who will have to race again. And problems indeed at the back for Todd Wiltshire in red, who came absolutely nowhere. But Joe Screen becomes the 3rd Brit of the night to win. And, well, the Union Jacks are starting to fly with a vengeance here alongside the checkered flags in this Brandon Stadium here at Coventry. But Joe Screen will be delighted with that. And Joe Screen, from gate number 2, went from the tapes as if he was jet propelled.
Yeah, he certainly did. He was off gate 2 in the blue helmet on the outside there. We can see that in the white, Henrik Gustafsson made a pretty good one, but Screen is just so far up on the first turn. But just look at Todd Wiltshire there. Todd has run straight into the side of Joe's back wheel, and Todd did very, very well to hang on to that bike. We can see this again here. Screen has made a rocket start there from 2, but just watch the rider in red, Todd Wiltshire, suddenly speed up in the middle of the corner and run straight into Joe Screen's back wheel, and he was very lucky not to get what we call a high side there. Very almost nearly flicked off onto the high side of the bike, and that would have been nasty.
Well, heat number 4, won by a Brit, Joe Screen, ahead of Henrik Gustafsson. They march on to heats 8 and 7, respectively. Andy Smith follows. He goes again in heat 6 to keep in the meeting. Todd WILTSHIRE does the same in heat number 5. A tremendous night here. The Union Jacks are around. The fans are enjoying it, and so far, it's a tremendous night for the Brits. It may be hot and humid, but most enjoyable of fans here at the Brandon Stadium. More after the break.
These children have time on their hands. They've been deprived of the opportunity to fulfill some of their greatest desires, to be stimulated in mind and body. Why?
Because they weren't entered for Sky's prize draw to win a family ticket to our free summer party at a major British theme park. See your August Sky customer magazine for entry details and loads of other great features. Give your kids a chance.
Darling,
Yeah?
there comes a time when a woman needs to hear those 3 little words. Are you listening?
I love you.
Oh, do you really?
Do I really what?
Easy, Tiger. Here, have your pint back.
Get your own, you cheeky cow. And you lot can clear off and all.
Darling, did you know that the Peugeot 206 Look now comes with air conditioning and free insurance?
Welcome back to Coventry Speedway. We are live from the Brandon Stadium, and this is one hell of a night of Speedway so far. Well, still with me in the studio here are Kelvin Tatum, Sam Ermolenko and Gary Havelock, and really we've started off, the Brits have started off crackingly. Gary, can I come to you first on that one? I mean, yeah, it's been a great start, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic start if you're a British supporter, and you know, Lee did it in the first ride and Carl did it in the second ride, and Joe just done it then, and I said I fancied Joe, and I said earlier I was talking to him in Sweden on Tuesday, and he's been using a new jar engine from Michael Lee, and he said it's the fastest thing he's ever ridden, so he's well happy.
Well, Joe Screen, I've got to say that he was a bet at 20 to 1 or something with the betting. Right. 25 to 1 was it? 25 to 1. Well, did any of you guys get your money on him?
Well, I wish I had.
No faith, Kelvin, that's what I say.
Well, I did mention his name.
Okay, well, enough of us in here. Let's go down to Susie Perry in pit lane, who's got Joe Screen with her.
He's not only doing it for himself, but doing it for the Brits as well. The 3rd British winner so far tonight. Joe, off gate 2, brilliant ride.
Yeah, you know, I've changed to Michael Lee Jower, and I tried it yesterday. It was very good, you know, and I made one of the best starts I've ever made there. You know, I just dropped the clutch and it pulled all the way the first corner. But the track is a little bit icy down low, and it goes into like quite a few berms, which sort of suits me. So if I do get behind, I hope the track stays the same, and I'll be able to ride it okay.
Going off a gate 2 again in heat 8, so that must suit you too.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's cool. Gate 2 is good. But I say the engine's working fine, you know, I dropped the clutch and it pulled to the corner.
All right, keep it up. Thanks a lot. Back to you, Keith.
Thanks very much there, Susie. Well, we can go back straight away to our commentary team because we don't want to miss a thing from the start of this race. Tony Millard.
This is heat number 5, a last chance salon for these because the last 2 are eliminated from the meeting. The first 2 march on. The lineup from Tapes, Frank Carger of Denmark goes from the inside. Fellow Dane Brian Anderson, former Coventry captain, goes from gate 2. Peter KARLSSON, the Swede, the elder of the 2 brothers, he goes from gate 3. And the Aussie, disappointing first time out from Sydney, Todd WILTSHIRE goes from the outside. That's the lineup. This is heat number 5. Away goes our Starling Marshall. Up flying the Tapes again. Crashing across from the outside comes Todd WILTSHIRE. Todd WILTSHIRE picks up the speed and down the back straight he goes. Ahead of Peter KARLSSON. In 3rd place is Brian Carger in the red helmet colour. Going wide at the back is Brian Anderson, and now picking up some grip and some speed. But out front, Todd WILTSHIRE is showing what might have been first time out, and now perhaps he's got it just right, BC.
Yeah, it looks that way. Certainly the start and the first turn, he's a specialist at that, and the way he rode round the outside, he's riding the quick line now. You can see that it's pretty slick down on the inside now. The dirt's being thrown wider, and Todd's just riding on the edge of that. We'll see that as we go through the night, that the riders will start to move wider.
Well, it's going to be disappointing for the two Danes, because it looks as if tumble out at this stage, and that's really not what they wanted. With a lap to go, it's Todd WILTSHIRE in front. Ahead of him, white, Peter KARLSSON, the Swede. Dane Brun Anderson in third place. Dane Brun Carger at the back. And if it stays like this with half a lap to go, both of the Danes will be out at the first stage of this. But a win for Todd WILTSHIRE in yellow. Ahead of him, white, Peter KARLSSON keeps both of those in it. Third place man Brun Anderson in blue will tumble out, and so too will fellow Dane Brun Carger. Disappointment for them that Todd WILTSHIRE, perhaps disappointing for him first time out, but now Todd WILTSHIRE, who came last in heat number 4, is back in this with a vengeance, PC, to take the checkered flag there. And well, there's a strong Aussie presence here tonight. He wants to kick with it.
Yeah, certainly Todd's one of those riders that wins from the start, and you can see he just about gets there. He's in a good position on the outside. That's him in the white leathers, and he's just on the fast line. You can see that black dark bit of the track. That's where all the grip is. The riders down low are just having to get too much sideways, while Todd's just got that back tyre really gripping. You can see that tyre there. Now every rider, they've put a new tyre on, a new edge for every race, and that's just total grip. You see that front wheel there just lift. He sat a little bit too far back too soon, but he corrected it very, very quickly. His back tyre there, it's in that dirt. You can see it just biting away around that first corner. When he comes out of that turn onto the back straight, he can get his wheels in line just slightly earlier than Peter KARLSSON in white, and on for that first place.
Well, certainly from that point of view, Todd WILTSHIRE and Peter KARLSSON will march on to heats 9 and 10 respectively. Brun Anderson gets 2 Grand Prix points, but he can go home. Brun Carger, 1 Grand Prix point. He can go home. Real disappointment for the Danes. And PC, really with Danish dominance in recent years, it's desperately disappointing for that fella there, Brun Anderson.
Yeah, Brian's had a really bad run. He's had these terrible collarbone problems. He broke the first one about 2 or 3 years ago, and he's never really got over it. He broke the second one the following year, and he had operations, he had them plated, and these plates were rejected, and the bone now isn't growing, so he's got 2 collarbones basically that are not joined up, Tony.
Well, he was a very popular rider here at Coventry, but now here's another man who's been pretty popular at Coventry. 3 British titles he's won here, Andy Smith, but he has to finish in the first 2 in this heat number 6 to stay in the meeting. Andy Smith, a 3 times British champion. In red, Tony Casper, the Czech Republic rider, who's still an asset from Eastbourne here in the British League, but doesn't currently ride in the British League. Of course, raced like Bradford in the past as well. Tony Casper, man in the white helmet colour, is Michael KARLSSON, who was desperately disappointing coming in last in the very first heat. But certainly his brother has come back from the dead, as they might say. There is Andy Smith, annual rider perhaps in the Grand Prix Challenge, to try and stay in it. Andy Smith likes his track, Peter. British champion 3 times here.
Yeah, and he actually won those 3 British championships back to back, 1, 2, 3 on the run.
Here we go, the lineup. Tony Casper from the Czech Republic on the inside. Andy Smith in blue from Britain goes from gate 2. Gate 3, Michael KARLSSON, the younger of the 2 Swedish brothers, Michael and Peter, of course. And John Jorgensen, so disappointing when he came last in heat number 3. First time out, heat 2, of course, a regular on this Coventry track over the years. He goes from the outside. That is the lineup. They look down at the tapes. A little bit held here by referee Tony Steele. I think there must be a problem here as to why those tapes haven't gone up. I think the electrics must have failed up above us here, because quite clearly the riders held, but referee didn't want to hold that, Peter. Real problem.
We've got a starting gate problem here by the looks of things. Probably we'll have a test in a minute. Yeah, the referees tested them. He could have held them if it was certainly one of the riders who were causing problems, but it seemed as though everybody was ready, but he just would not release.
Now, of course, that puts a strain on the clutch springs, the clutch plates, and much more, and really, from the rider's point of view, not the ideal situation.
No, not at all, because the riders are sat there like at full revs with the clutch in, just waiting for those tapes to go, and it really does put a lot of stress on that engine, and the clutch would start to pull as well into the tape.
Well, the lads in the studio, not the ideal situation. 3 world champions up there. Disappointment for the lads at the tapes with them jamming.
Well, there we go then. Now then, we've had a lot of rider consternation here in the studio. Sam Ermolenko was shouting and hollering. 13,000 revs that clutch is doing, you reckon, at that particular point, Sam?
The engine definitely was. The clutch, who knows with that ratio, but right now, to be fair to the riders, they need to get back and cool their clutches down, because you just can't expect them to go back out there and win a championship on a bad clutch.
So these clutches won't last 2 starts like that, is what you're telling me?
Absolutely not.
Gary?
No, they do. They tend to get really hot. All the riders have electric fans to cool them down, and they'll probably be taking them out on the track just now and trying to cool them down a bit because they'll be steaming. And once your clutch gets hot, it actually starts to drag. The bike pulls you into the tape. You can't make a good start.
Well, we don't want any of those kind of exclusions going on in the British Grand Prix if we can help it at this stage of the riders that must get themselves through before they meet the seated riders in Heat 11. Kelvin, we saw the officialdom looking down on the tapes there.
It's obviously difficult for the referee. He was probably pushing the button and the tapes weren't going, so it was a really frustrating situation. But like Sam said, the clutches heat up very quickly because they're running just on air, and you know, with that amount of revs going through it, you know, very quickly can burn it out.
Okay, well that's the first negative thing we've had happen this evening. It's been a great night so far. You guys, I've never heard you louder in full voice in here. I think we ought to have a camera in here watching you in the box in the corner, because it has been quite amusing from where I am.
England 3, the rest of the world 1, Keith.
I'll tell you what, poor old Sam, he's stuck in the middle of this. I've got to get out of here. I'm going to go and join Millard and Collins. Over to you, Tony.
There we go then, the line-up for heat number 6. Start number 2, Tony Kasper on the inside in blue, Andy Smith. Grade 3 in white is Michael Karlsson. On the outside in yellow is John Jorgensen, the last man carrying the Danish flag in this Grand Prix, having come in as a late replacement for Raphael de Bruschi, but away they go. Jorgensen does cut across, but Jorgensen is taken wide, but the man in white, Michael Karlsson, who picks it up. In second place is Tony Kasper. Third in yellow now is John Jorgensen, but Andy Smith is battling through into second place, and I just wonder if Andy could do his Houdini act here once again. It looks extremely unlikely at the moment with Andy Smith right at the back.
Yeah, Andy's at the back. He's got to be in the first 2, but he's having a real good go here. There's no doubt about that. He's right in the thick of things here. On the inside, he's trying that inside. It looks like he's got up to 3rd place, but he needs to get up to 2nd, Tony.
Michael Karlsson sailing away down that back straight with a lap and a half to go. Andy Smith is back in 3rd place. John Jorgensen right at the back will be the end of the Danes here in this Grand Prix tonight. But the 2nd place is the Czech Republic rider, Tony Kasper. But Michael Karlsson, just like his brother Peter, 2nd time lucky, is going to stay in this. But Andy Smith still has work to do with half a lap. He's not out of it yet and can still do it. Andy Smith is trying, but it's going to be desperately tight. And oh, the referee will have to call that one, because that was desperately tight between Andy Smith in blue and Tony Kasper in red. And I just wonder whether the photo finish we might be able to see, or whether the referee will award that. We'll have to wait and see. That was desperately close between the 2 riders. No doubt about Michael Karlsson staying in this Grand Prix and winning that heat, but on the line, that 2nd place, I just wonder who our referee Tony Steele will give it to. He does have the benefit of the replays, and we'll see that in just a minute.
Yeah, certainly. Well, this was the start here. We're racing now out of that start to the first corner. There's a bit of pushing there between the rider in white there and yellow. There's a very brave move there by the rider in white, Michael Karlsson. But he just managed to steam through there. Andy Smith here, he's at the back on the first turn. Again, just look at the 2 riders on the outside. They tangle on that first turn, but a bit of pushing there from Michael Karlsson in the white helmet just to pull ahead. And Jorgensen is pushed very, very wide on the first turn, but Kasper's tucked into 2nd place. Now Andy Smith really has his work cut out. Andy was at the back there, and on the finishing line, that's how close it was to Andy getting 2nd place. Half a wheel.
Well, Andy Smith getting 2nd, getting 3rd place there, which allows Tony Kasper through to the next stage. And sadly for Andy Smith, he's eliminated with 2 Grand Prix points. Michael Karlsson marches on. He'll be racing against his brother in Heat 10, ahead of Tony Kasper. Andy Smith and John Jorgensen go home. And now all the Danes are out, Peter, and it's a long while since in World Championship events.
Yeah, Denmark is going through a pretty lean spell at the moment, and now Hans Nielsen's retired. We're looking for riders to take over from him from Denmark, but we've got a few on the way through, but certainly at this level they're a bit thin on the ground.
Andy Smith's 2 Grand Prix points there means that he, well, falls further behind in the Grand Prix. But now we move on now to some people who did much better early on, and we have Lee Richardson in this one in the red helmet colour there. The man in blue is Jimmy Nielsen, who also won his heat number 3 to get to this stage, heat number 7. The first 2, of course, will go through to the main event to join the big boys, the top 8 from the last Grand Prix. Well, the top 8 plus Jason Lance has come in for Thomas Gollop. More on that later. The man in yellow and black there, Greg Hancock, of course a home rider in the British Elite League for Coventry, goes from the outside. Martin Dugard in white goes from K2. There's the lineup. Lee Richardson from England from the inside in red. In blue it's Jimmy Nielsen. Martin Dugard goes in white and on in yellow. Well, I've misread that. I think it's Henrik Gustafsson. And slightly misplaced from earlier on. Henrik Gustafsson in the outside gate. Peter, this is going to be tough.
Certainly is, and on the inside there, Lee Richardson, we saw what a good start he made in his first ride. Can he do it now against Jimmy Nielsen next to him in blue?
Well, we'll have to wait and see the way they go there, but on the inside there, Lee Richardson boxed out, but coming through now in white there and taking it up is Martin Dugard. In yellow, Henrik Gustafsson goes round the outside. In third place now, in blue is Jimmy Nielsen. At the back is Lee Richardson, but he will have another chance to stay in the Grand Prix, even if he finishes in the last 2 in this heat. But what a ride out front by a man who's a wild card, who's under no pressure, Martin Dugard, currently third in the British League averages, but sailing away here as if nothing matters and not a care in the world with half the race gone. Martin Dugard out front, the number 23 on his race jacket. Henrik Gustafsson in second place, having a few problems there, the number 15 and Lockie Luck. In blue, Jimmy Nielsen, not as good as he would last time, and nor is Lee Richardson at the back. And with a lap to go, Dugard's having it all his own way.
The lead he's got in this race is just unbelievable. It's almost a full straight length, but look there, Lee Richardson's still having a go. He's having to go around the outside of Jimmy Nielsen, but to no avail at the moment, but he's trying all the way, Tony.
Martin Dugard, though, takes the checkered flag by the proverbial street. Ahead of in yellow, Henrik Gustafsson. In third place in blue, Jimmy Nielsen will have to go again to stay in this. And, well, real problems for Lee Richardson, who goes off the track, doesn't finish the race. But Martin Dugard, what a speed. What speed in that one. 61.97 seconds. The time of Martin Dugard. The checkered flag, and he knows that perhaps he is pretty hot. The man who's currently third in the British League averages. Martin Dugard winning that one with some comfort and taking that checkered flag.
Yeah, that was certainly done on the first corner there from Martin. The track's a little bit tricky at the moment, Tony, there's no doubt. There's Jimmy Nielsen coming back to the pits. A little bit disappointed, I suppose, with that third place there, but certainly on the start it was Martin Dugard that went out like a dose of salt and went on to win by absolutely miles. There's no doubt about that. Very, very dominant to that first corner.
Well, they remark the starting lines, of course, for the riders who are going to come out in a moment for heat number 8. And again, strong British representation in this one with Carl Stonehuer and Joe Screen against the Aussie Ron Sullivan. And Greg Hancock, who will be wearing the yellow helmet colours and going from the outside in this one. But there's the result of heat number 7. Martin Dugard and Henrik Gustafsson going to the main event in heats 11 and 12 respectively. Jimmy Nielsen and Lee Richardson will have to go in heats 9 and 10 once again to see if they can stay in this one. Riders moving up the tapes now then for heat number 8 as the action moves forward. Carl Stonehuer is the man in red there, riding these, well, Michael Lee tuned Jawas. The rider in blue is Joe Screen doing absolutely likewise. In white is Ron Sullivan, the Aussie. On the outside in yellow and black, the American Greg Hancock. His home track here at Coventry, the former world champion. Well, it's going to be a battle here. I wonder if Stoney can repeat the effort he did in his first race, Carl Stonehuer, heat 2. There's the lineup. Stonehuer in the red helmet colour goes from the inside. Joe Screen goes in blue from gate 2 for doing distance. Ron Sullivan, the Aussie, goes from gate 3, and Greg Hancock, the American who rides here for Coventry, he goes from outside in yellow and black. That's the lineup. This is heat number 8. I think these starting gate problems have been resolved, and these riders won't have a problem until a couple of heats ago. But Carl Stonehuer's on the inside. Starling Marshall walks away. Up fly the tapes and away they go. This time Carl Stonehuer squeezed somewhat, but in white, Ron Sullivan picks it up. Pursued by Greg Hancock, the two top dogs away. Carl Stonehuer will have to go again. He's back in third place. In fourth place at the moment. Joe Screen is down. Real disappointment for Joe Screen on that top bend. We lose Joe Screen. He will have a chance to come back. I don't know if the referee will know. Joe Screen has remounted at the back. We haven't seen that, but we have seen this man, Ron Sullivan, really flying. There's Joe Screen at the back, but there is Ron Sullivan now, ahead of Greg Hancock in yellow. Back in third place in blue, and will probably, or fourth place in blue is Joe Screen. But this man in Ron Sullivan is absolutely flying now, ahead of Greg Hancock, and both will march on here to the main event, Peter, and they're going well.
Yeah, certainly Ryan Sullivan's got a good line there, but we can see that there's two tracks now developing. There's the slippery inside part and the very, very grippy bit on the outside. Joe Screen tried that big blast round the outside and went down, but Ryan Sullivan's been away from all those problems, and there he goes over the line to take the win.
Well, Ron Sullivan second in heat 1, now he's won this heat number 8, ahead of in second place Greg Hancock. Both go through to the main event and will hope and be expected so to do. But now there's more work to do for the British pair of Carl Stonehewer and Joe Screen in this one. But Ron Sullivan enjoyed himself there. He got the start he wanted, and all the way towards the checkered flag, Ryan Sullivan in white was in charge.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things going on behind Ryan there. There's problems with the track. We can see that there's a lot of dirt on the outside. Joe Screen there on the outside is going for that big blast round the outside. We can see is in all that grip and just goes down there on a slippery patch, and that was Joe's race over.
Joe, of course, will be able to go again, but we can see the style again there. And Greg Hancock did well from the outside, Peter. Second place good enough for him.
Yeah, he did. It's a long way now from that outside. It's very grippy out there, but into the picture right in the centre there. Ryan Sullivan is at a nice turn, but just look at the problems that the riders are having here. Carl Stonehewer on the inside caught that little patchy bit coming into the corner, and it's causing him a few problems at the moment, Tony.
Yeah, but we know, well, there's two at the front end. Ron Sullivan and Greg Hancock march on to the main event. Carl Stonehewer and Joe Screen will have one more go to see if they can make it. The Brits are still very much alive. The Danes have gone out of this one. The big boys are still to come. It's really hotting up. It's mighty humid here, and the Brandon Stadium in Coventry knows that it has a top-class speedway meeting on its hands here tonight. All the rest of the action will be with you shortly.
One day. 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 One day.
One day, so many deliveries. Enjoy a great game of one-day cricket. The Norwich Union National Cricket League. Hampshire-Essex tomorrow at 1, exclusively live on Sky Sports 1 and interactive on Sky Sports Extra.
I didn't do drama, you know.
How you doing, man? Hanging out, playing football with your buddies?
Yeah, we get together once a week and go at it real good.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good time.
Let me ask you something. Why do they call it American football, yet your foot barely touches the ball?
Right. What are you, Mr. Funny or something?
No, I'm not trying to be Mr. Funny guy at all. I just want to know why they call it football.
But that's the way it is. It's in the dictionary. That's the way it's going to be.
You want another contradiction? Bud Light. Premium lager, yet lower calorie.
Nice.
You want to shake on that?
Sure.
We have to use our feet.
You're right. If you're feeling uncomfortably bloated or suffering from painful trapped wind, try Deflatine from Rennie. It can swiftly and gently relieve the pressure without embarrassment. Take the pressure off with Deflatine from Rennie.
We'll be rejoining heats 9 and 10. The last of the 4 of the first 16 will be going out in 9 and 10 here in the studio. I still have Kelvin Tatum, Sam Emelenko and Gary Havelock. And okay, what kind of pattern are we picking up, Gary, at the moment here? What's looking good and what's not looking so good?
I don't really think there is a pattern. I think the track looks not as bad as it could have been, but it does look a bit patchy in place. A couple of the guys on the first corner we see on the replays there getting into trouble. And I think it's the guys who can put the starts together and get clear and pick a nice smooth line and ride out mid-track.
Seems to me, Sam, that the guy that gets away at the front is going to win at the minute. That's not great.
Right now, everybody's just trying to figure it out. Like Gary says, just trying to figure it out. And the inside gates haven't been the best, and that's normally pretty good around here. So guys are probably thinking where they want to fall into these other heats to kind of get the better gate position possibly. But the guys that are winning are the guys that are going to be comfortable.
Well, we've got no Danes that have gone through, Kelvin, much to your disgust.
Well, it's unusual because about a decade ago it was pretty much the other way around. We used to get a few beatings off the Danes, but they're not quite so strong at the moment. But I think one or two guys are actually struggling with the conditions. You know, they looked a bit like Jimmy Nielsen looked a bit uncomfortable on the track. and Tony Casper certainly did. They seem to be struggling to keep the speed up.
Okay, well, heat 9 we're coming up with in a minute. Wiltshire, Casper, Nilsson and Screen. Joe's out there, and so is Tony Millard, who's going to give us the lowdown.
Well, I can tell you we're almost cooking here in the commentary box, and the action's pretty hot on the track as well. On the inside, Todd Wiltshire goes in red, following his victory in heat 5. Tony Casper goes in gate 2, following his second place in heat 6. Jimmy Nilsson, the Swede, in white goes from gate 3. Remember, he came third in heat 7. Second chance to get back in it. Joe Screen goes on the outside in yellow and black. Peter Collins, Joe Screen needs something a bit special here.
He certainly does. He's got to put one of those starts together if he's going to progress, because, like we said, Tony, the last 2 are out, and you've got to be in the top 2.
Well, first 2 here go through to the main event. The last 2 are eliminated. You could say it's the last chance for all 4 of these riders in this one, because each has come 3rd or 4th in their previous races. There we look along the start line now. Joe Screen is on the outside below us in yellow and black and gets a slow start here, but now he's picking it up around the outside. In red there, it's picked up by Todd Wiltshire. In white, Jimmy Nilsson, and Joe Screen now is left at the back, and it looks as if it's going to be abjected. Oh, he's down again, Joe Screen on that top bend. He tumbles into the fence for the second time running and rebounds, but Joe Screen's Grand Prix days in this Grand Prix at Brandon tonight are surely over. Todd Wiltshire in red down that back straight is going well, the Aussie. Ahead of him, second place, Jimmy Nilsson, the Swede in the white helmet colour. Back in 3rd place, and also tumbling out will probably be Tony Casper. Disappointment for him, but away we go now down that back straight with Todd Wiltshire keeping the Aussie flag flying here with a quarter to go, looking in prime form at the moment.
Yeah, he is, Tony. There is no doubt about that. He's having a real nice ride there, real mid-track. He's got his back wheel just on the edge of the dirt, his front wheels on that slicker part of the circuit on the inside, and he's just now having a real good ride on his own. Jimmy Nilsson there will be happy with that 2nd place.
Well, Todd Wiltshire certainly enjoying that in red ahead of Jimmy Nilsson in white. 3rd place and tumbling out the Grand Prix is Tony Casper. Joe Screen in yellow, the 20-to-1 shot coming into tonight. Heat 2 disappears out to show perhaps the bookies are right. But certainly Todd Wiltshire in red helmet colour and in white, Jimmy Nilsson march on. A great effort by Todd Wiltshire to take the checkered flag there and see himself safely through to the main event. From the start, well, it was anybody's battle here, but Joe Screen was slowly away.
Yeah, Joe's on the outside there. He doesn't quite make it to the 1st corner. He's next to Jimmy Nilsson. Jimmy gets a bit of a push from Todd Wiltshire, and Joe's right on the wrong end of that stick. He's right out wide, and again, this is the start. Todd Wiltshire in the white leathers makes a good start just on the back wheel. He's clear when he gets to the 1st corner. He catches Jimmy Nilsson in the side there. That transmits right across to Joe, who's on the outside, and Joe at this point has lost the traction there. He's been pushed very, very wide. His wheel's spinning out there, but then when we get down to the bottom end, Joe has a real good blast around the outside of Tony Casper. He's just lining him up now. Now this is the point where Joe fell earlier. He overslides it going into the turn and straight down into the fence there. Very unfortunate. Just shows just how much Joe a racer he is.
Well, certainly from Joe Screen's point of view, disappointment. No such disappointment for Todd Wiltshire and Jimmy Nilsson. But as one Brit, Joe Screen, goes out, one who's having a great night is Martin Dugard. He's with Susie Perry.
Well, check this out, number 23, Martin Dugard, through to the main event. Must be a relief.
Yeah, the last Grand Prix I was in here, I did 2 rides and went home, and yeah, things are going good at the moment.
You're riding your own race out there?
Yeah, it's easy when you're in front, you can pick the line you want and that, and it's quite hard when you're behind, but at the moment I'm planning on being there.
Nice one, Martin. See you later.
Thank you.
Heat number 10 then now is the last heat before the main event, and the last chance for some of these two to stay in the action. This is Michael KARLSSON, the younger of the 2 KARLSSON brothers. He goes in the red helmet colours, sweep from the inside. Gate 2 next to him in blue, coming up there. That will be his brother, elder brother, Peter KARLSSON. 2 KARLSSONs going to the inside 2 gates. The 2 we'll be watching are going in a white. Carl Stonehewer there from gate 3, the number 13 on his machinery. And last man, but not least, is Lee Richardson. Michael KARLSSON in red from gate 1. Gate 2, Peter KARLSSON in blue, the 2 Swedes. Against the 2 Brits, Carl Stonehewer in white from gate 3. Lee Richardson, wild card, goes from the outside. Yellow helmet colour. Sun shining brightly. Descends in the westerly sky here in the Midlands tonight. But, well, British flags are still flying high at the moment. More to come in the main event. I just wonder, these two the tapes. They have to do it from the outside. Lee Richardson appears to be brought down there by Karlsson. He goes into the fence. I just wonder, referee is stopping this one, and I just wonder who will be excluded. And we could see some drama here, because we could see Lee Richardson staying in at the expense of the man who gave him the nudge, Karlsson. And I just wonder what happened there, PC, because, well, it's not great news for Lee Richardson.
Well, I think that's what we call the first bend bunching thing again. Unfortunately, the rider on the outside, Lee Richardson, was just in the wrong place. We can see what happens here when they come from the gate here. The rider in blue gets a nudge from the rider in red. Karlsson in the white was in the middle of that sandwich, and on the outside, Lee Richardson's gone straight down into that air fence. Again, on the start, Karlsson there. He's in the middle of the pack now. He gets a really big nudge when he gets to the first corner here from the rider in blue. Hits Lee Richardson in the side. Lee's got nowhere to go. That does happen here quite regularly at Coventry, and I'm sure all 4 riders will be back in.
Well, I know in this Grand Prix, Tony Steele, our referee, has the benefit of looking at the replays before he makes a decision, but it certainly was very close to our lads in the studio who looking down, and you lads must have seen that in a pretty close hand. Keith?
You'd never heard a row like it, Tony, believe me, in here, because they all shouted first corner bunching, and of course when Peter came up with it was a very, very close first corner.
It was good. You know, that was a corner that the boys are going to be going for it, and we called it kind of early on. Michael, strong starter. If he doesn't make the start, he'll push. He knows his brother's tactics. Exactly what happened. Domino effect after that.
Sure. What are the odds of the 2 brothers breaking down again, I wonder?
Oh, well, I thought it was 100. You told me, Keith, that it was 150 to 1.
Look at this is it.
Oh, well, nasty.
And again, Gary Havelock, air fences. I mean, I remember a particular incident of yours at Paul Speedway where you could have done with one of them.
You can see it right here. Stoney's just minding his own business, and Michael pushes Peter. Peter pushes Stoney, and Stoney goes straight into Lee. So, you know, Lee had nowhere to go. It's probably doing the best thing he could do is try to make a start with him.
He went in there quite fast. And,
he did.
You know, he just got up because them air fences are great. You've got
to ask yourself how long and why has it taken so long to get these air fences around the Speedway.
Exactly. You know, I think scars on me that would certainly not have been there if we'd had air fences. But this is a classic Speedway sort of first corner on a small track. Everybody, it's a World Championship round. Michael Karlsson gives his brother a nudge. And as Sam said, the domino effect, and unfortunately Lee Richardson's the ones that come off.
Well, we're still waiting for a referee decision at the moment, so I'm still waiting to hear through my earpiece exactly what's going on from there.
Just
so
look me up, I'll tell the referee what to do. All 4 back, that's the racing.
I have enough trouble with you.
I think, to be fair, Tony Steele's a good referee, and he'll make the right decision, especially after seeing them replays.
All 4 are back in, so you were right there, Gary.
You'd have to be an alien from the planet Bag or a German referee maybe to not make that decision.
I can always rely on you, can't I, Gabba? Tony Steele is certainly from here. So then, all 4 back in.
Just sit on the fence for it.
Well, there's an air fence out there. We got to thank BSI for bringing that in, and they've done a great job.
Okay, Sam, that's your preliminary. So as the banter continues here in the studio, let's get back to the real stuff, and of course Pete Collins and Tony Millard. Thanks, boys.
Sanity prevails here in the humid commentary box. We're steamed up as well, more ways than one. The line-up, heat number 10 here. There's the man in blue, that's Peter Karlsson, of course, but in red inside is his brother Michael Karlsson. And the 2 Brits had a few problems there. Karlsson, who goes to gate 3 in white, and on the outside, Lee Richardson in yellow and black. The wild card has sprung a real surprise with that sensational victory in his first ride. Well, let's see if they can do better on that first bend and avoid this air fence this time as the Starling Marshall gets set. He walks away. Up fly the tapes quickly this time. They go line abreast into that first bend. The 2 Karlssons on the inside. Stonehewer goes wide and gets taken out. Coming through is Richardson on the inside, but almost team riding by the 2 Swedish brothers out front, and they will try and exclude the guys behind. But look at Lee Richardson, because he's now flying round the outside. Mistake by Lee Richardson, and that looks over, but now Karlsson puts the pressure on the Karlsson brothers, and Lee Richardson will tumble out of the Grand Prix. But the 2 Swedes are in front here with half the race. Peter Karlsson in front in blue. It's Michael Karlsson in red, and work to do for Karlsson.
Certainly Karl's never going to give up, but he's having a real fight here. He's not really making a great deal of ground. On the outside though, Peter Karlsson's gone very, very wide. Karl's really having a go, but the grip isn't down low where Karl is at the moment.
Karl's got work to do on the back. He's putting the pressure on Michael Karlsson with half a lap to go. It looks as if it's going the way of the 2 Swedes who will go through to the main event, because Peter Karlsson in blue takes the checkered flag ahead of his brother Michael in red, and disappointingly, KARLSSON disappoints those fans from Workington and joins Lee Richardson, who disappoints the home fans here at Coventry. Both of those are eliminated and tumble out of the Grand Prix, but the two Swedish brothers shake hands and march on. Applause indeed there from Peter in the blue helmet colours for his brother Michael in red. And certainly from their point of view, well, what a performance. The Swedes had it all their own way after the first bend.
Yeah, fantastic start first corner from the KARLSSON brothers. This is the start. That's KARLSSON there in the white in the centre of the picture. Lee Richardson on the outside. Now Karl just lifted a little bit there in the wrong place. He's just on the end of the chain. He's on the outside. Now he's looking to turn back, but already you can see the rider in yellow. Lee Richardson has shot back up the inside, but the KARLSSON brothers are gone really around that first corner. That's Peter in the red helmet there, just coming. So Peter in the blue helmet just going round the outside. Michael in the red, and KARLSSON here having a brave attempt here. He goes inside Lee Richardson. Lee seems to hit that dirt there. He's looking down at his engine. His hopes have gone. He's finished for the night. But KARLSSON certainly was getting stuck in there right through the race. Here on the outside, this is a lap earlier with Richardson squeezing down by the fence on the outside of Michael KARLSSON, but round the bottom turn there. Certainly a good ride for the KARLSSON brothers.
Yes, Peter finishing ahead of Michael KARLSSON and Lee Richardson tumble out of the action, disappointingly after a great start for the two Brits who started so well. 10 heats gone, we move on to the main event. Commiserations to Lee Richardson with John Davis, his mentor, alongside him. KARLSSON there. Well, he gets commiserations from his team manager at Workington, Ian Thomas, who says, well done, so near and yet so far. John Davis commiserates with Lee Richardson, but all of them will be watching the remainder of the action because the 16 top riders march on. 4 heats to go. The action gets hotter and hotter here at Brandon Stadium.
The Movie Max Wednesday premiere.
Soldier, sir!
He is the perfect futuristic warrior, born to kill, chosen to fight, trained to annihilate.
God help us.
But now he's just been double-crossed.
I was replaced.
And he's seeking his revenge. Kurt Russell. Soldier, Wednesday at 10 on Sky Movie Max.
You were on fire tonight, man. Do you ever do it in the bedroom, the old fire? Did you like practice with like cotton wool buds at first, like really small?
It's Midsummer Madness at Halfords. Loads of savings, including a third off thousands of bikes and a third off Halfords 5-litre oil.
Hey!
You're right. If you're feeling uncomfortably bloated or suffering from painful trapped wind, try Deflatine from Rennie. It can swiftly and gently relieve the pressure without embarrassment. Take the pressure off with Deflatine from Rennie.
A serious mouthful of fruity juiciness. Starburst, get your juices going.
Hello? Oh, hi, Dave. No, I'm fine. It's just early in the morning. You want to speak to Lisa? Yeah, she's been missing you too. Lisa, it's Dave!
1-to-1. The pay-as-you-go phone you can use abroad.
The shadows are getting long here at Coventry now. These are the 8 men that have been knocked out so far this evening. Stonehewer, Casper and Lee Richardson. Well, Richardson and Stonehewer saw we go out just a while ago. Joe Screen, well, there's a surprise. He looked so good as well earlier on in the evening. Blew it with 2 crashes. He's out. Andy Smith went out also. And those 8 men are on their way home, and those are the points they score. Well, here in the studio, we can see the old sun going down. The shadows are getting long at the moment. I'm a bit shocked at Joe Screen. I think you guys too?
Yeah, Keith, I was surprised. He looked so good in his first ride. Made a brilliant start, you know, 4 perfect laps. And then in the next 2 rides, he just seemed to sort of like lose it mentally. He dropped the bike twice. And for a rider of his ability, it's very unusual, very unusual.
Gary, can the track have anything to do with this, or did it just get the occasion get the better of him, do you think, Joe?
The track probably had something to do with it, but as Calvin said, Joe's such a good motorcyclist that he should have been able to handle the situation. I've seen, when I rode with him at Bradford, you know, I've seen him ride tracks 10 times worse than this and stay on the bike, you know, out by the fence, in by the line, and still stay on the bike. You know, I don't know whether he was nervous or, you know, overexcited or what, but he just seemed to have brain failure.
Sam, in Heat 10 we lost Stoney and Lee Richardson as well. A little bit unfortunate as far as the Brits are concerned, because Stoney as well looked like he was going good.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that they were in the incident the first.
Kelf said straight away before it started it was going to be a 5-1 to Sweden.
Sure, well,
and it was.
It was. I don't like saying that, but it was one of those situations where they're a little bit more experienced internationally, and you could see it in the rerun. They were looking, well, we've got a second chance now. They weren't going to let it slip.
Well, Speedway's certainly getting bigger and bigger, and you can see from the size of the crowd here, it's big in Great Britain as well. And yet we have even another announcement coming from the CEO of Benfield Sports, who run the sport nowadays. And John Postlethwaite is with Susie Perry.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Keith. Big announcement made at 6:30 tonight, and rather than me tell you what it was, John, please tell us.
Sure, we've announced that for the next 4 years, the British Grand Prix will be moving to the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. 72,000 all-seater stadium. It'll be on June. The first one will be on June the 9th next year, and Big Time Speedway is back in Britain.
Well, absolutely, as we've seen here with all these fans, I mean, it's been fantastic. Look at the stadium there, it's absolutely huge. 72,000, ambitious, I have to say.
Sure, very ambitious, but when you look back to just the early 80s when 98,000 people were filling Wembley for the grand final of Speedway, we know that the audience is there. It's just that, as Sky found and as Channel 4 have found, if you put quality Speedway in front of an audience, then the audience is going to love it. And the audiences are growing, they're there, and we want to give them the best facilities that we possibly can, and the Millennium Stadium is the best stadium in Europe.
So how long, whose idea was it first of all, and how long has this idea been going for before you signed contracts?
The idea has been going for about 6 months, and it was BSI's idea to move all of the Grand Prix to bigger and better stadia. We've been negotiating with the stadium now for about 6 months. It's a big decision for them to make as well, to have 24 bikes with no brakes careering around a brand new stadium. So we've had to give them lots of reassurances that we're not going to ruin their stadium, and to make sure that it's going to be safe for the riders as well. So we've reassured them on all of those fronts, and we're going to have a very exciting event there.
Well, Speedway Live, of course, is so exciting, but, you know, do you see the same kind of people coming back as in the 70s, the same amounts of people coming? We see the TV, we see, you know, people on Sky watching, everybody's really into it, it's a sexy sport, you know. Can we really attract those kind of people?
Oh, I'm absolutely sure we can. We're going to very much target the family audience to make sure that we give really good value for people. and people will be able to sit down in a great seat at the Millennium Stadium cheaper than they would have done here tonight.
Okay, John, thanks very much for talking to us. Well, Keith, what an exciting decision. I mean, it's great here at Brandon, but the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, what do you reckon?
Nothing like an audience of 98,000. I wonder whether we're going to get that. Well, there's only one place, of course, that you can see live speedway if you're not at the track, and that's here on Sky Sports. 60,000 people going to the Millennium Stadium next year. Sam?
Well, I have great admiration for this guy because he's got big plans. He's not really talking about all of his plans, but I've heard these whispers over the last year, and it seems like everything he's talked about seems to be coming through. So let's hope that the guy, whatever gambles he makes, he'll learn from those mistakes and rectify them the next time.
We have an estimate tonight, Gary. I mean, you guys have all been world champions. You've seen big crowds that have turned out to watch you race. We've got the biggest crowd in Speedway that I've seen for some time here. 10,000 people estimated that have come through the turnstiles. They were queuing since first thing this morning. But can you realistically see 60,000 people going to Cardiff to watch Speedway?
I can, personally. You know, if you look back over the life cycle of Speedway, you know, it was huge before the war, just after the war. In the 50s, early 50s, it died right off. They were getting crowds of 1,000 people. In the 60s, it picked right back up again. In the 70s and 80s, it died off again. And I feel at this very moment in time, Speedway is on the verge of really hitting the big time again. And it's with guys like that who are doing the job that they're doing with wide horizons and looking forward, rather than just saying, all right, it's going all right, let's keep it as it is. Really trying to push forward and make it a huge spot again. And if guys like that behind it, we've got to have a chance.
It's a big world. Tell them about it. You tell them they'll come.
I remember when it was that big. I'm only one old enough in out of our 4. Let's take a look then at, I hate to say it, but the Sweet 16. These are the 16 that are going through. Yeah, Gary Havelock banned me from saying that. These are, in Heat 11, Tony Rickardson, Stefan Dano, Martin Dugard. One thing they've got to fix is that Sweet 16 title. And in Heat 13, it'll be Chris Louis. Jason Lyons having his first ride. He's replacing Goloff, and he's gone straight into Goloff's position. He's seeded straight through. So Jason Lyons, his first ever Grand Prix, and he's seeded through. Lee Adams, Mark Loran, Peter Karlsson and Jimmy Nielsen are in Heat 14. That's how they line up. And this is what it looks like here at Coventry right now. These are live pictures from the Brandon Stadium. And certainly, gentlemen, you've got to say that the turnout is rather impressive here.
It is, and it would be very, very impressive if we were at the Cardiff Stadium next year with 70,000 people there.
I quite like the idea of being able to roll the roof on and off. That's quite good fun, isn't it?
The only thing I've got about those stadiums is if, you know, the track, what sort of race surface is going to get.
Okay, that's next year though. Let's go on and see who's going to win the British Grand Prix. Can I sort of turn your attention to tonight? We're going to write it down. Gary Havelock, who's going to win the British Grand Prix? Give us your top 3.
Mark Loran, Tony Rickardson and Chris Louis.
Mark Loran, Tony Rickardson, Chris Louis. That's Gary Havelock. Sam, you're studying?
I'm studying because I'm going to go with my buddy Billy Hamill. I'm going to go with Tony Rickardson, and I hope to see Greg Hancock get in there.
Kel?
I think Tony Rickardson, I think Jason Crump and Billy Hamill.
Oh, Crump, Rickardson, Loran. There you go.
There you go.
But that's not what I put in the sweepstake, otherwise I'd have to share it with everybody. Well, Peter Collins is certainly a world champion. Let's see if he can predict any better than we can. Peter, what's your prediction for the top 3?
Well, I think that Tony Rickardson, for me, is the complete champion, and you know, you've really got to be a bit strange not to choose him. But certainly, my heart is with Mark Loran, because Mark is the big racer, and we've yet to see Mark tonight, and he'll make some fireworks, no doubt.
Well, the man all 4 of our world champions have named is in this one. Tony Rickardson, the world champion, goes from the inside gate in the red helmet colours. And there we see the man himself, the legendary Tony Rickardson, winner of the British Grand Prix here last year. In gate 2 is Stefan Dano, the Swede. A little bit of a surprise packet from time to time in this Grand Prix series. We're still waiting for him to come up to tapes. There in the white helmet colours, a surprise of the night, the wild card Martin Dugard, currently 3rd in the British Elite League averages and riding higher, the captain of Eastbourne. On the outside in yellow and black, that is Greg Hancock, the Coventry captain here on his home track. So Tony Rickardson, world champion on the inside. Stefan Dano, the Swede, doesn't ride in Britain these days, goes from gate 2. Martin Dugard, 3 in the British averages, captain of Eastbourne, goes from gate 3. And on the outside, another former champion, Greg Hancock, goes from the outside. see what happens here now. They line up at tapes. We're waiting for the starting mark. He moves away up by the tapes and away on the inside. In red goes Richardson. Look at Martin Dugard. Dugard picks it up in front. Tony Richardson's back in third place. Greg Hancock comes round the outside, and the world champion could be eclipsed in this one. Right at the back is Stefan Dano. But look at the two out front. They're really battling. Dugard is flying. Hancock is flying. What a ride by Martin Dugard.
Fantastic there. He's holding Greg Hancock. He's riding the quick line. He's going really well around the bottom turn there. Greg had a big challenge early on, but now Greg seems to be dropping back a little bit, Tony.
Martin Dugard must be the most relaxed rider here. He didn't practice here. He watched the Young England International at Oxford last night, then went home down to Hurstpit Point in Sussex and came up today. And now he's riding like a terrier. Martin Dugard, with a lap to go, has opened up a 20-metre lead ahead of Greg Hancock, who's on his home track. World champion Tony Richardson will have to go again to stay in this event, and Stefan Dano miles at the back. But what a ride by Martin Dugard in white to take the checkered flag. In yellow, Greg Hancock. They march on just one race from the semi-finals, and Tony Richardson, the world champion, will have to go again to stay in this Grand Prix. The surprises keep coming. Martin Dugard 16 to 1 at the start of the meeting. The odds are certainly tumbling on the man with the 23 there. And the checkered flag greets him here. Disappointment for that man, Tony Richardson. But what a ride by Martin Dugard, and Tony Richardson will have to have learned something from that. He has in the other Grand Prix we've seen, but Dugard flew from the start. Yeah, I must say, Tony, that Martin Dugard is really pulling out all the stops. Normally he's a small track man, but certainly the way he's riding this track tonight. He turned very early, made a good start there, chopped across the front of Tony Richardson, but just look at Greg Hancock. Hancock's come around the outside there. Now Greg's got a good run around the outside, but he knows that he's seen Joe Screen slide off down there twice, decides to go round, decides not to go round the outside. Again, this is the start. Richardson half makes the start there in the red off gate one, but just look at Martin Dugard. He stops him altogether. Martin puts the bike completely sideways in front of Tony Richardson, and that allows Greg Hancock to do that great run round the outside. You can see Greg is riding a completely different track there to the other three riders, no doubt, but when Greg gets to the bottom bend, he's got the speed to possibly get around the outside of Martin Dugard, decides against it. Seeing Joe Screen fall off at that point, and he settled for second place. Well, there's the result, and Martin Dugard going brilliantly tonight, now just one ride away from reaching the semi-finals ahead of former world champion Greg Hancock. Tony Richardson and Stefan Dano, the two Swedes, will have to go again. But now we move on to heat number 12, and there's another former world champion, Billy Hamill, already a Grand Prix winner this season, winning the first of the series. And Jason Crump is in this one as well, in the blue helmet colours there, twice the winner of the British Grand Prix. Jason Crump, certainly fancied by some of our lads in the studio to take the title. There is Henrik Gustafsson. Recent years so disappointing in the Grand Prix, and a rider of such great natural talent. And Ron Sullivan, who was pretty impressive in winning heat number 8. He goes in the white helmet colours from gate 3. So, all sorts of things happening here, but the lineup for this heat number 12, Billy Hamill, former world champion. Jason Crump, twice a British Grand Prix winner. Ron Sullivan, the flying Aussie, the captain of Peterborough. Henrik Gustafsson, the Swede, who's ridden, of course, in England for England and for Ipswich. He goes on the outside in yellow. This is heat 12, second heat of the main event here in this British Brandon Stadium. Jason Crump, the adjustments there. Neville Tatum prepares his engines. Jason Crump, Neville Tatum with him in the pits. His younger brother. There in red is Billy Hamill. Billy Hamill, former world champion. Of course, another Coventry rider. He's certainly feeling free at home on this track here tonight. Starting marshal once again moves away, and up they go, and certainly to the apex of the bend. Jason Crump picks it up. Jason Crump shows the speed. Round the outside in yellow goes Henrik Gustafsson. Coming through in white is Ron Sullivan to pick up second place and put Jason Crump under some sort of pressure. Crump is going really wide, but by doing so stretches his lead, and Jason Crump has this in control here in second place ahead of Ron Sullivan. Back Back in third is Billy Hamill, who will surely have to do it all over again. As well, the man right at the back here, because Henrik Gustafsson is somewhat disappointing, but another fine ride by Jason Crump out front.
Yeah, I must say, Tony, that the track now is starting to improve. We've had a track grade, and Jason now is riding out quite wide, but the dirt is moving a long, long way out now, and we can see the riders riding pretty wide at this point.
With a lap to go, Jason Crump, already twice the winner of a British Grand Prix in past years, could be set for a third British Grand Prix victory in this one if he keeps this sort of form up, but he faces lots of competition yet and makes a mistake there, but he's still going to take... Oh, he's sliding up to try and get his gate set for the next heat. I'm sure that will provide controversy because Jason Crump knew what he wanted. He slowed up to allow Ryan Sullivan to come through. Jason Crump in second place. They will qualify, and Jason Crump looking to adjust his gate position, I'm sure, there, because he knows that he'll go from gate 3 in heat 17 in his next ride by getting that position, and that is going to make a very interesting topic for conversation because Jason Crump led all the way and on the final bend pulled back, but Peter, from the start he looked good.
Yeah, I don't think that will go down very well, there's no doubt, because he made a good start there, although at this point he catches Ryan Sullivan as he hits the first turn. Ryan's pushed very, very wide there into the side of Henrik Gustafsson. Billy Hamill in the centre of the picture there has made a good start, but Billy actually gets a big wheelie there in the middle of the turn, almost goes down and loses a lot of ground there, but Jason Crump in the blue now, he's set sail down that back straight. He's pretty close to the fence there. Now he's just riding very, very cautiously because we know this is his first ride. Here Ryan Sullivan almost catches him there on that real grippy bit now. This is the controversial spot now, over the finishing line. He gives Ryan Sullivan that lead, and I'm sure that's so Jason can have the better start position or the start that he wants in the next heat.
Wild tactics we've seen many times in this Grand Prix series, and Jason Crump knows exactly what he wanted to do in coming second there behind Ryan Sullivan, Henrik Gustafsson and Billy Hamill. And, well, Martin Dugard, who was laughing at Crumpy, is with our Susie Perry.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, Martin's got his own rules. What do you think should happen to Jason there?
No, I think if that's the way he wants to play, he's gone through the programme, he's obviously seen what start position he needs in the next one, and he's thought about it.
That's not what he just said.
Really?
He just said he should be excluded.
No, we've seen it happen before, and Jason's fair enough. He's been out in front, he's kept himself clean, he's let someone pass him, and now he's going off a better gate position. He might carry on and win the meeting.
Yeah, of course, tactics do come into play. It's not just out and out riding, is it? Martin, you were 16-1 at the start of this evening. Should have had a flutter on you, really. You're a good bet.
Well, yeah, well, it's like everything, isn't it? It always looks good when you're going good, but I could have done 2 rides like I did a couple of years ago and gone home.
But you against the world, you're just out there doing it on your own tonight, so relax.
I've got nothing to lose. I've come here as a wild card to spoil the meetings for the top guys, and as long as I keep doing that, that's what I'm here for.
Well, we're enjoying it. You enjoying yourself tonight?
Yeah, I'm having a better night than I normally do.
And you're smiling at me for a change, which is very nice. Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Thanks a lot. Let's go back to Coventry now.
Martin Dugard, he'll be with us again next Thursday. We're down at Eastbourne on Sky Sports as we watch Eastbourne against Peterborough in the Elite League. But I've never seen Martin Dugard so relaxed, and I'm sure he's thoroughly enjoying his appearance here. Heat number 13, but Peter, can Martin Dugard win this?
Well, you know, you always get certain surprises in big meetings like this, and Martin, to me, the way he's riding, he looks so fast, Tony. He just like pulls away from the opposition and he's making starts, so who knows, if he could just keep his act together all the way through, we could see him winning this tonight.
Well, we won't see him for a while because we're now watching heat 13, and that man in red is Chris Louis, of course, the champion English captain, and certainly a vital cog here. Jason Lyons, who's the replacement here, goes in gate number 2 wearing 28, the replacement for the absent and injured Thomas Gobb. We wish him well. Todd WILTSHIRE, the Aussie, goes from gate 3 in white, and Michael KARLSSON, who qualified by second place in heat 10, which was his last chance, that in heat 13 now, he goes from the outside gate. One that not too many people mind at the moment. This is heat 13, away they go, and picking it up in white is Todd WILTSHIRE, who now seems to know exactly what he's doing on this track, pursuing him down the outside. Michael KARLSSON, the gate closed on him because in blue, Jason Lyons, deputising for the absent and injured Thomas Gobb, is in second place. Chris Louis tail off at the back now, and he has work to do, Chris Louis, and it's not going well for him, but it's going mighty well for flying Aussie from Sydney, Todd WILTSHIRE up front.
Yeah, I think some of the lads are struggling concern with this track, Tony. There's no doubt Chris Louis there. That's not like Chris there to be stuck at the back, and he's stuck there in last place. And Todd WILTSHIRE is just pulling away. He seems to have got everything sorted out now.
Chris Louis at the back, looking as if, well, he'll have to go again and see if he can do better to get himself through towards those semi-finals. But Todd WILTSHIRE marches on, and certainly if it stays like this for him, he's just one ride away from the semi-finals, as is the man in second place, who's battled through more hits than anybody so far, Michael KARLSSON in the yellow helmet colours. But in white there, Todd WILTSHIRE, he looks back, more tactics coming into play here as he allows the man in yellow to come through, Michael KARLSSON, to win that. Ahead of in white, Todd WILTSHIRE. Third in blue was Jason Lyons, and they're all playing the game because Todd WILTSHIRE's second place in that heat will adjust his position now, and he will try, or he certainly has been trying. That means he'll go for the outside gate in heat 18, Peter. The tactics are really coming into play now.
Yeah, we've not really seen this before, but I think it's sticking out like a sore thumb really tonight, because these gates are really pretty even, and it's not really happening for some of the lads. They certainly don't want to be stuck in a bad position. There on the outside, that's Michael KARLSSON, who's really getting a lot of face full of dirt there, but down the outside there, Todd WILTSHIRE really has got a good line. Chris Louis is really, that's Chris Louis on the gate. Chris, you can see he's got his two fingers just on that clutch there. He lets them go. He's got his right leg flailing there in the wind, but certainly the rider in blue there, Jason Lyons, has come right across the front of our Chris Louis. Chris is riding very, very tight, but in the white there, Todd WILTSHIRE has got a really quick line, and he kept that line for the whole race and just powered ahead of the opposition, and he really didn't see what was going on behind him. But on the last turn here, you've got Michael KARLSSON, who did a lot of work to make up for all that ground. Todd looks across at him, and certainly a brave man there to do a manoeuvre like that.
Well, they're all doing it now, and although they're coming out for the next heat, we look back at the result of heat number 13 there, which you see was one. Well, they're trying to work out whether he actually made it. Michael KARLSSON ahead of Todd WILTSHIRE, but now Jason Crump, the man who started it all, is in the pits with Susie.
Well, you know what we say, Tony, you've got to have a leader for everyone else to follow, and this is the man. What are you up to?
Nothing really, just gate one's notoriously not a very good gate here at Coventry, and if I had won my first ride, I would have gone out of gate one in my next ride, and I guess that I felt I had a better chance off gate 3 and coming second place.
All right, Jason, but everyone's doing it now.
Well, you know, it's so hard, the Grand Prix, the racing's tough, and any sort of advantage you can get for yourself is worth taking.
Well, one win under your belt so far this series, another one tonight possibly?
Well, I'd like to hope so. You know, I've had some success at Coventry before in Grand Prix and in different meetings, and that's what I'm going for.
Good luck, Jason. Thanks very much for introducing a new little tactic there. Very nice too. Peter, Tony, over to you guys.
Heat 14, the fourth heat of the main event. Lee Adams from Australia goes to the inside. Mark Naram, our British hope perhaps for this Grand Prix joint leader at the moment. He goes from gate 2. Peter KARLSSON, the Swede in white, goes from gate 3. Fellow Swede Jimmy Nilsson goes from the outside. But I just wonder, Peter, of this massive crowd here, most of them will be backing that man in blue, Mark Naram.
Well, I'm sure they will. He's joint leader in the series with Tony RICHARDSON, and everything's hinging on him in this British GP, and we need someone to get behind, and certainly everyone's going to be backing him up, and certainly with some of the English lads already out of the series, Mark's going to be the one to cheer for.
Well, they'll be cheering for him. There is Mark Naram in the blue helmet colours. Thrilled us in so many Grand Prix so far. Remember, he's only won one. That was the Swedish Grand Prix last season. Second twice already this year. In red there is Lee Adams, of course, riding high in the British League with Kings Lynn these days. Where to go? A little bit of rolling at the start. Mark Naram is away, though, and Mark Naram is nearly to meet in the sandwich. He's in second place, but here he goes. Down the back straight. Mark Naram ahead of Lee Adams in second place. Back on the outside in white is Peter KARLSSON. He will have to do it again. Jimmy Nilsson is now trying to come through, but Mark Naram, fast and furious, wide he goes, picks up the grip down that back straight, and what a thrill this rider is going to give the crowds in this meeting yet again here tonight. I wonder if we're going to see tactics to decide his gate position next time out. With half the race gone, he's firmly in control, Peter.
Yeah, as the track is right now, you can see that Mark is riding in that dirt on the outside. It is very, very grippy out there. There's no doubt about that, and when all that grip's there, Mark goes very, very wide, gets his wheels in it, and uses every little bit of inch of that track.
Well, if he keeps this position, he'll get the same gate again next time out, and I think he'd probably be perfectly happy with that. But Mark Naram round the outside. gathers the cheers ahead of Lee Adams in red in second place. Third place belongs to Peter KARLSSON in white. Jimmy Nielsen in yellow is at the back. KARLSSON and Nielsen, the two Swedes, will have to try again. That Brit, Mark Laram, will march on just one race away from the semi-finals, as is Lee Adams, the man who finished in second place. And Mark Laram is certainly the man of the moment for British Speedway crowds. He's in form, thrills aplenty throughout every meeting he takes part in, and this time he made the gate.
Oh, it's unbelievable. He's right in the middle of the picture there in the blue helmet. It's a bit of a tight squeeze when he gets there, because on the inside, Lee Adams has made a good start. He's taken Mark very wide, but he's pushed Mark onto that real grippy bit there, coming out of that first bend, and Mark's able to use that to catapult himself down that back straight. This is Mark on the gate there, not always the best of starters. He needs a good start in this race, there's no doubt about that. He needs his first race under his belt to get the circuit sorted out, to know if his bike's working well or if he needs to change anything. But really, Lee Adams has done him a favour there, because he's just pushed him wide onto that dark patch there. That's where all the grip is, down that fence, and Mark now gets the wheels in line. There, you can see him handle that grip. When that bike pulls like that and the wheel lifts, there's such a great strain on the shoulders, and Mark didn't even flinch. He just held on to that, and just look how close he is to that fence there. Lots of grip down. You can see it's all piled up against the bottom of that air fence, and Mark has got his back wheel in that the whole way round, and that's giving him all that push to the finish.
And in Heat 18, he'll beat Ron Sullivan, Greg Hancock and Todd WILTSHIRE. Mark Laram, the winner there ahead of Lee Adams. He goes in Heat 17. All the mathematics are starting to work out. Gamesmanship and tactics are coming in. But certainly there, as we see Martin Dugard with his checkered flag, it's a great evening of Speedway here at the British Grand Prix, and there's plenty more to come after the break.
New grass, new balls, new songs, new blood, new stars, new stories, new rules, new league, new money, new vision, same game, same game. The new season coming soon on Sky Sports.
7up presents Cool Watch.
Look, there's a hot female on the beach. Let's go.
Cool.
When things get really hot, cool down with 7up.
Cool.
Ooh. How you doing, sir? You got any ham in your hamburgers?
No, we don't. We have pure 100% beef.
Why didn't you have ham in your hamburger?
You don't want ham in our hamburgers. That's it. You don't want our hamburgers, you can go someplace else.
Why do you call it a hamburger?
Just call it a hamburger because it's a hamburger.
You want another contradiction? Bud Light. It's premium lager, but at the same time, lower calorie.
I believe that.
So there's no ham in the burger, so it's false advertising.
No, it's not false advertising.
It is.
I'll tell you what.
I want a hamburger.
I'll give you the hamburger.
What's in your hot dogs?
Before we went for a break, we saw Mark Laram win his race. He leads the championship with this man, Tony Richardson, and we have a very real prospect of this man going out in the very next race we're about to see. A huge crowd here then at Coventry Speedway, and maybe Tony Richardson has got a lot to worry about. Mark Laram is on the charge, and he's with Susie Perry.
Mark, certainly pleasing the fans out there.
Yeah, it's a great turnout, you know, they're all behind us, and we've had a few English riders go out already, so I'm pushing to give them something to cheer about.
You gated well, a great ride.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm going to change bikes because I know I won that ride, but this bike, it's too much power and I'm not going forward, you know, so I've got to change if I want to get better results.
Is that why you had the moment when you went wide by the air fence?
Yeah, the dirt's too wide out and you can't use it very well, so I'm going to have to go something that's going to go forward on the slick.
Okay. Oh, Mark, well, it's great to see you doing it out there for yourself and for the Brits. Well done, and we'll see you later.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Heat number 15, Tony Rickardson goes from the inside. His last chance to stay in this, has to finish in the first two, as does Jason Lance from gate 2, the Aussie in blue. Billy Hamill, the former world champion from the USA in white, and Jimmy Nielsen. Great riders, all of these, but last two in this race will be eliminated. The top two will march on. It could be a really tough encounter as our starting marshal walks away. The tanks fly up and away they go, and on the inside, Tony Rickardson holds it tight, and down goes Henrik Gustafsson. He gets back on, but I'm just wondering what's happened there, because we've got all sorts of problems. It's Billy Hamill, I think, went down there, but away they go. The referee has let them go away, and certainly Tony Rickardson in front now. Ahead of him, blue, is Jason Lyons, and back in third place is Billy Hamill is out of it, but Jimmy Nielsen is going well in yellow and black. But look at this, a brilliant effort by the man out front, Tony Rickardson, and the world champion will stay in it. Perhaps he made a mistake early on, but he now knows that certainly that's not what he was doing, and he is going to win through in this, and perhaps we'll get through to the main event. But Billy Hamill at the back, the former world champion, is going to tumble out of this one. And Tony Rickardson onto the last lap, out front, going well, sailing down the back straight, ahead of Jason Lyons. The Aussie will qualify for the next stage, but disappointment indeed for Jimmy Nielsen, disappointment for Billy Hamill, but the nodding head of Tony Rickardson shows exactly what might have been for him first time out. And real disappointment for Billy Hamill and the Coventry fans at the back following that tumble. But Tony Rickardson was wheel perfect that time, Peter, and showed the quality of a world champion.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of class there to do that. He was under such a lot of pressure. He really was under pressure.
Well, certainly these lads away from the start, but Rickardson showed what could have been. The lads in the studio, I'm sure, will appreciate the efforts of yet another world champion among world champions.
Well, Billy Hamill there, a major disappointment, Kelvin. I can't believe that.
No, unbelievable. You see here, he's lifting all the way to the first corner. He's got opposite lock on, and when the front wheel hits the ground, just literally the bike just jerks away from underneath him. Big, major shot, because he's been in such good form.
Sam Ermolenko, what I heard Tony Millard say it and reiterate it, mental strength from the world champion Rickardson.
Especially coming off gate one, there's only been one successful rider that's done that so far, and that's the freak Todd WILTSHIRE from Australia, made it from one. But I'll go back to what Billy just done there. Billy just passed the corner up and made an aggressive move and put it down.
Jason Lyons, a brilliant ride into second place there, Gary.
Yeah, fantastic ride from Jason, you know, he'll be well happy with that. He's been going really good in the league as well, and step up into this sort of competition and ride as well as he has. It's a great effort to him, but I'd just like to say what Tony Rickardson now with the awesome start, you know, his back was against the wall, and as we said before, that's when you find out who's the true champion, you know. He's got off gate one and he's done it.
Well, we've got Nielsen and Hamill going out then, but Rickardson and Lyons go through. Heat 16 is next up. Gustafsson, Peter KARLSSON, Dano and Chris Louis. Two more of these men have got to go out, so this is going to be a tough one.
Better in this one, because he really looked off the pace in his first ride. He just didn't look really with it at all. And we've seen this with him before when he starts in the main event.
He came off a gate one there though. He's coming off a 4 here.
Yeah. Yeah, but even when he was racing, Keith, he didn't look like he was challenging. He just didn't do like anything. So maybe he's changed his bike in this race, but he's got to do something now.
We heard Mark Laram talking about changing his bike. He didn't want a fast bike. That's the opposite to a tough road racing type.
No, the track's slick. You don't want too much horsepower. You want it going on the ground. You just want things hooking up.
I think possibly that Chris knew, okay, I'm not in this race. I'm 4th here, knowing where he's going to lie. Maybe he thinks the outside gate might help him now. If he hasn't changed bikes, maybe he thinks he might make it now.
Well, changing his bike, he got caught with that in GP in Poland by not changing. So this time he's obviously won his first ride and knows he's got 2 more rides, whatever.
Yeah.
He's going to try his other bike.
Everybody's getting smart to the system, aren't they?
Okay, Mark Laram is right on target. Chris Louis isn't. We'll go across to our commentary pair now because we want to find out whether Chris is going to be able to do it in this one.
Well, we see Chris Louis there from the outside. At the inside, it's Henrik Gustafsson in red, the Swede. Peter KARLSSON, fellow Swede, goes in blue from gate 2. The third Swede in the heat is Stefan Dano in white. And on the outside, it's Chris Louis. Remember, the last 2 will be eliminated. And certainly they'll get respectively 5 and 6 Grand Prix points, and really that's not much good to any of these. But Chris Louis want to make the first 2 and march on if Chris Louis is going to stay in contention. This is heat number 16. They look down at the tapes, which now fly up, and Chris Louis from the outside has work to do. He avoids what's going on in between. Oh dear! He had to look up, and he's got second place, and the referee has stopped that heat there. And I've just got to find out, Peter Collins, I'm not quite sure what happened, and I couldn't see any really good reason for the referee to stop that one.
I think that the referees probably stopped it because there was some bunching on that first turn. I know nobody went down, but it didn't look particularly good. Or the only other reason is that the starting gate malfunctioned. The tape should have possibly went up unevenly, but no, the tape looked pretty good to me. But there, that bumping there in the middle of the turn, nobody went down, but really it was first bend bunching. Chris Louis was certainly impeded there by the rider in red, Henke Gustafsson, caused Chris to go right to the fence. We can see this again. The referee's looking at the video evidence before he makes his decision. He stops this one and he says that all four are going to go back in. This is first turn bunching, and it's a good decision really, Tony, by the referee, because it was a total shambles that first turn.
Well, normally, of course, we haven't seen that sort of thing happen or the race stopped unless we've actually seen somebody go down, and that's unique in the Grand Prix, really.
Yeah, Chris Louis was really balked really badly by that one. He really was pushed out from almost being in front to the fence.
Well, our world champions along with Keith Hewitt in the studio, how did you see that one?
There was a lot of shouting going on in here, as you might have guessed, but that doesn't mean anything as far as this studio is concerned. Kelvin Tatum.
That's right. Well, Henke there really was fired up. Unusual for him. We all agree with that. He really meant business. Again, the domino effect where he's come across from gate one, bumped into Peter Karlsson on two, and well, it was a shambles of a first corner. They were sort of all dribs and drabs in the end.
Well, turn one has been a bit hectic, hasn't it, throughout this meeting?
But saying that, Keith, to be fair, if they're going to put world championships on tight corner tracks like this, this is going to be the effect every time. And these guys right now, they're in the main event. These guys want to win. You know, if you take that little bit of a chance, sometimes look at Henke here. He's thinking, I just got to move these guys out, and I got a chance of getting into the finals.
Very quickly, Gary, were you surprised at a red light?
No, I wasn't. I mean, I think Tony's doing a really good job, and I think he should be commended for that.
Is he paying you? That's the second time you said that tonight, but anyway.
It doesn't exclude me.
It won't happen again. Let's go back to comms then. Tony.
Yeah, referee Tony Steele certainly on his mettle here tonight, dare I say. But the lineup here for heat number 16 in red on the inside, it's Henrik Gustafsson, Peter Karlsson, Stefan Dano, all three Swedes. I wonder if that was some form of team effort to keep Chris Louis at bay. Louis going from the outside. This time up go the tapes. This time they fly. Louis left to... Oh, look at this! 1, 2, 3, all into that fence. There'll be a delay now. Let's hope they all get up, because catastrophe. Chris Louis is still down. Peter Karlsson is on his feet. The first aid men are on the track like lightning. They're all trying to help, and oh, carnage on that first bend. Repairs jumping up, and clear of it now is Peter Karlsson. He's okay, but we're still waiting to see Chris Louis, who is down and tucked underneath that with his machine. And really, that pneumatic fence, Peter Collins, has to do its best possible job. Problems there for Peter Karlsson. He seems to be okay. We are still waiting for Chris Louis, and they're all onto the track there. There's a lot of work to be done now to get that fence back into some sort of condition. And, well, Peter, I haven't seen anything like that. We saw the Grand Prix in Sweden when Jason Crump hit the barrier, but the safety fence important there.
Yes, Tony, we keep talking about this domino effect, and certainly when it's tight going into the first turn, that's again what happened there. Chris Louis and Stefan Dano are there, stuck under the fence there. Hopefully just the fence is just holding them under the fence, and hopefully they're going to get up there, but it did look pretty bad. They went in there pretty hard, there's no doubt about that. And it looks as though we've got some movement here. They got tangled up together going into that first turn. Let's hope that the air fence has done its job again, Tony.
Well, with his back to his England team manager, Dave Jessup, just hidden there is John Louis, Chris Louis' father, in the red and blue jacket with the first aid men. There is Dave Jessup and John Louis. Certainly Jason Crump coming to see what's been happening here. We saw Martin Dugard there trying to help them. He came out and jumped over the fence to see what was happening. But Jason Crump now, a professional that he is, he's going to have a look at the starting gate and try and assess what he should do next time out when he goes from gate 3 in heat 17, Peter.
Yeah, well, Jason's certainly got a bit of time here while they sort this mess out, and he's going to have a look at his starting place. But a bit concerned about Chris Louis. I know he had Stefan Dano basically on top of him there, and they seem to be just caught under those bikes, under that air fence, and there's a lot of activity going on at the moment. And let's just hope they're going to walk away from this one, Tony.
Well, the paramedics are there, and we can see it again, Peter.
Yeah, well, this is the start. Just look at the rider in white there. He gets hit right from the centre there. Cannons into Chris Louis. Stefan Dano, that went in first. And Chris Louis went right with him. And basically, again, it's this thing about the first turn. It happens on a lot of tracks, but there, Dano was caught there by Peter KARLSSON to start that on the inside. Peter got pushed there in the blue into Dano. Chris Louis. Fortunately, they were clear of the bikes. The bikes they were clear of those, which is a good thing. And hopefully, you know, the bikes didn't do them any damage before they hit the fence. They're right in the middle of that. And Stefan Dano, you see, in the white has gone the high side. Chris Louis actually slid straight into the back end of Stefan Dano. I think that is the problem.
Well, I know now the ambulance is out there, but our guys in the studio were just above it. And how did you see it, boys? Domino effect once again.
It looked the same mess as you saw, actually, Tony, I've got to say, and it looked like it hurt as well. So Stefan Dano under the fence, the red light was on even before they hit the fence.
I can imagine,
that's a tough one, that is.
I can imagine what my Swedish team manager, Anders Becker's thinking right now, because Stefan Dano's due to ride for the first time in Sweden since his last injury. So, poor guy, but...
Again, that was an example of World Championship racing on a tight track. Everybody wants the same bit of ground. Nobody's prepared to give, and you're going to get this. You know, guys. Fortunately, Chris Louis
there on his feet.
Yeah, and that was a nasty accident. That really was. And when bodies and bikes are all hooked up, you know, you can get injured.
Well, his dad has said that he's battered and bruised, but he will be riding. That's Chris Louis. Dano's up on his feet as well. So. What was very significant for me as well, that Jason Crump took an opportunity to walk the other way around the track and check out his starting grid for the next heat. He's got his race face on, hasn't he? Even with all this going on down the other end of the track.
Yeah, he wants to take the opportunity to look at gate 3. Here we go.
Let's take another look at this. Talk us through it, Kel.
Well, we can see Henke comes across, bumps into Peter KARLSSON. Peter KARLSSON's footrest lifts Dano off his bike, and the two guys on the outside are just like wrapped up around each other and bang into each other, actually.
I have to say, very lucky no motorcycles went in on top of the boys.
No.
Yeah. If you look here, like Stefan Dano on 3, PK, just as he's come down with his front wheel, his elbow got hooked up too, and that didn't help.
But the reason Dano's gone over, Sam, is because the footrest of Peter KARLSSON lifts his bike over.
Sure, you can see it there.
You can see it there, and then, of course, Chris has got nowhere to go.
Trouble is, with Peter KARLSSON managing to get away the way he was, he had 3 bikes on top of him. There's Chris Louis, then coming back into pit lane. So, well, he doesn't look too white, that's for sure, and that's usually...
May we say that...
Another good effort for the air fence.
Another great effort for the air fence.
They both got up.
Yeah.
You know,
they would have both been on a hospital.
Absolutely,
sure.
Yeah, no question. They would have been broken bones if they had them in there.
Yeah, I know it's expensive, but what prices are like, you know, and I think all the promoters out there, all around the world, seriously think about making it a worldwide thing for every track.
Couldn't agree more with that.
Air fences, I think that was originally patented in Australia, so something good came out of there. Apologies to all the Australians listening, especially Ken Wootton of Australian Motorcycle. You just stood here watching us.
But I hope that all the riders there can get back up and, you know, take their place in the rerun.
It certainly looks as if they will, but I mean, the referee wouldn't think of excluding Henke for coming across, would he?
It would certainly go through his mind, I think.
Because all you guys were looking fairly critically at that. And
well, I think it comes down to the fact that they were all racing for it. They got a little bit out of control between a couple of guys, and they got hooked up together as they were going in. Henke was probably not as rough as he was in the first one.
Well, that was, I mean, we've had 2 very rough starts, but that's an indication of the kind of competition that we're in at the moment, isn't it, really?
Oh, for sure, this is coming down to it, you know, trying to get into the semi-finals, and the guys are absolutely desperate for it. It's the 4th GP, there's only a couple left after this one, and as Calvin said, everyone's going for the same piece of track, and something's got to give on a tight track like this.
I'm just looking at what's coming up in Heat 17 after this one. Good Lord, if we're... I don't know whether I want to get past Heat 16.
Can we say that, you know, the FIM rules, which is the international governing body that governs this, the rules were always that the World Championship tracks had to be about 400 meters big.
Good point. A certain amount of meters wide.
But what happened is certain venues were lost, and there was only certain venues left, and Coventry is one of them. It's a fairly small track.
I think it all went back to Boyens. They're trying to get Boyens and something.
Well, of course, if we go to the British Grand Prix in Cardiff next year, we haven't had a Welsh winner since 1953, you know. I was looking at my programme earlier
1950, wasn't it?
1953, I think it was, yeah. Welshman, can't remember his name.
Freddie Williams.
Freddie Williams, that was it. Good knowledge, Gary Avalok. You're
a world champion, wasn't he? Yeah.
You are the man.
What was the first speedway bike then that was really manufactured for speedway then? Question.
Well, down in, we've got Magda Louis actually with Susie down in the pits at the moment, so we can go and have a word with Susie Perry. Susie, give us the latest.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Magda, this is the time when you really don't want to be a mum in Speedway, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. I can't bear to lose another rider. We're having such a bad run this season, just recently. But Chris, I think he will be okay. He's complaining about his elbow and his leg, and he banged himself about and bruised himself. But the ride is a special breed. I'm sure he will be up and running in a few minutes.
Absolutely, but thank goodness for that air fence, I have to say.
Well, absolutely. I think that this is saving lives, and this is saving riders from having, you know, serious injuries, and thank God for that, really. We've got to say that.
Magda, why you're here? Latest on Thomas Golub, please.
Well, he's recovering very slowly. However, the operation took a lot longer than we anticipated, nearly 4 hours. And I think he made the injury even worse by trying to get out of the car after the crash. He didn't realise he broke his collarbone, so he was banging the door with his shoulder. So the operation lasted very long. He's still in the hospital, very, very weak. And I think we're going to talk again on Monday, try to determine whether he's going to come back within 2 weeks or 2 months. It's hard to say at this stage.
All right, Magda, well, thanks. Go and catch your breath. Thanks very much for talking to us. So the air fence, thank goodness for that. I know it's expensive, but a great safety feature. Let's go now to Peter and Tony.
We look down on the track now for the restaging of Heat 16. I have to say happy birthday, Magda Lewis. She's 34 today, and we're delighted to see her looking so fresh and enjoying herself. And Chris, of course, her stepson, well, we're glad to see him riding in yellow in this next Heat 16, the restart. And I have to say, Peter, when you looked at that, Henke Gustafsson, that man in red, certainly came very, very wide, didn't he?
Well, Henke was off gate 1, and it was certainly one of those things where they were so close going in that first cut. They all made the start together, and it was very unfortunate. If they're a little bit spread out, you see, they get some more gaps, but when they all went into there side by side, they've all got to try and turn those bikes, and as soon as they turn, you get these incidents.
Well, lots of things happening. That's in the studio. Keep with it.
Thanks there, Tony. Sorry, we were deep in conversation here about what we're talking about. Of course, for those of you that have only just joined us, we're looking at this action just a moment ago. This is Heat 16, and for those of you that have only just switched on, another big pile-up in Turn 1. And Chris Louis and Stefan Dano come in the worst of this, but remarkably, both on their feet, both going to start again. Big crash, Kelvin Tatum.
That was a big crash, and as we said several times already, the air fence definitely saved them. Well, if that had been the original fence here, Keith, neither of them will be taking their place in the rerun.
One thing's for certain, if it ever needs more air in it, they just have to put the valve up here. The amount that we're generating in this studio at the moment. We heard also there, we also heard about oh, and Chris Louis is leaving the pits here, so Chris Louis is back out on 2. There he is. That's Peter KARLSSON. You're right. Thank you very much for that, Gary Havelock. But Chris Louis has definitely left the pits and he's back on track.
Yeah, spare bike.
I have to say, we need to speak a little bit about Thomas Golub, of course, not being here. No pole in the meeting.
No,
that's the first time I can remember. No pole in a World Championship meeting.
Well, they're so fanatical about Speedway and producing so many world-class riders. It is very unusual for a pole not to be in.
Like a day of mourning in Poland today.
Well, I mean, I should think so as well. He was asleep in the car, apparently, when he got rammed in the side. I mean, that's a fairly rude awakening. Well,
quite regularly
we're going to be cheering now for Chris Louis even louder. He's been in the fence once. Hopefully he can pull this one off. Let's hope he doesn't finish 3rd or 4th, or he'll go out of the Grand Prix here at Coventry. Let's go down to the commentary position then with Peter Collins and Tony Millard.
Heat 16 then, Henrik Gustafsson, Peter KARLSSON and Stefan Dano, the 3 Swedes, gates 1, 2 and 3. Chris Louis on the outside. And I just wonder, Peter, how nervy they will be this time going into that first bend for the 3rd time.
Well, they're probably really nervy, but they're probably pretty sore as well. No doubt Chris Louis and Stefan Dano there, they were down for a long time, and I'm sure that they're both pretty sore and stiffening up. All your joints start to stiffen up when you take a knock like that, but they've got to make a start from the outside. Chris Louis in that position where he's very vulnerable if he doesn't make it, and it could happen again.
I have to say, Peter, one of the first people on the site pushed by Bob Dugard was Roland Dano, Stefan's brother, who of course was paralysed from the waist down in a Speedway accident, and he was on the scene ever so pleased to see his young brother fitting well.
Yeah, Stefan broke his back in Poland probably about 10 years ago now. Sorry, Roland. Did I say Roland? Yeah, Roland, sorry. Roland's a good mate of mine as well. And he did break his back in Poland about 10 years ago, and I'm sure that he was thinking a lot about his brother Stefan at that moment.
Well, as I say, the action goes on, and at the moment there's a lot of messing about going on, because on his way back to pits now, they're certainly moving fast is Peter KARLSSON, and I just wonder, the referee hasn't put them on 2 minutes yet. There is nobody at the starting gate, and some controversy, I think, going on, PC.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy going on. This certainly the replacement of the safety fence and all the confusion that we've got, but seems to be getting sorted out. Although Chris Louis here, possibly, there's the 2 minutes there. It doesn't seem to be counting down at the moment, so
Well, I understand that Henrik Gustafsson has been excluded, and we need some explanation of that one, because apparently the referee claims to have put the 2 minutes on with Henrik Gustafsson facing the wrong way, and Ollie Olsen has become involved again in this, and it looks as if Henrik Gustafsson is going back in. Peter, really, I'm not quite sure what's happened here. It's amazing.
Well, you know, it's a bit harsh to exclude anybody from this because of all the confusion, everything that happened, bikes everywhere, carnage, total carnage. I really don't think that anyone is going to be excluded from this race.
Well, at the moment, referee Tony Steele there we see, and he's having his say. I know that the riders representative from Sweden there is involved. Ollie Olsen is involved. There's Colin Pratt, of course, who's the manager here, and I just... really, I didn't see the exclusion light is definitely on, and the referee has decided, come hell or high water, he is excluding Henrik Gustafsson. And Henrik Gustafsson will be out of this. I just wonder, Peter, the real reason for that, or whether, having seen the replay, he's decided he was at fault.
Well, if he's run out of his 2 minutes, you know, that's the reason why the referee's sticking to those rules. That is the reason why that Henker has been excluded. But a little bit harsh to me, considering of everything that we've just seen, Tony.
Well, certainly unlucky, but referee Tony Steele absolutely firm. According to Henrik Gustafsson, and in these humid conditions we can explain it, his visor steamed up, which is why he turned round at the tapes, and the referee decided, well, that's it, he's out. And one Swede has gone, two are left in, Peter KARLSSON in the blue helmet colour, Stefan Dano in the white, and Chris Louis now has to just beat one of these to stay in the meeting. The last man will be eliminated. Gustafsson is already out. Here we go, for heat 16, and away they go in blue on the inside. Peter KARLSSON there, but not coming through now. In white is Stefan Dano, and Chris Louis has a lot of work to do here now from the back, but he's got a lot more space in which to do it. Out front in blue, Peter KARLSSON goes wide. He's pursued by Stefan Dano, who looks back with a lap and a quarter gone, and Chris Louis, shaken up a little bit, has work to do.
Yes, Stefan Dano in second place is holding Chris off. The pair of them look pretty shaky, pretty stiff, the way they're actually riding these bikes. They've both been involved in that horrendous crash, but Chris is trying, there's no doubt about it. He'll keep plugging away. He's trying that inside line.
Here he goes! Chris Louis goes up the inside. He will take Stefan Dano wide, and Chris Louis now battle. Oh, he locks up. Dano comes down the outside, and Dano picks it up again. And with a lap to go, Chris Louis is putting pressure on Stefan Dano. Here comes Louis up the inside. Dano goes wide. KARLSSON is out front ahead of him. Can Chris Louis do it? Stefan Dano holds it tight. Chris Louis comes through. All on the line, and Chris Louis does it. Just on the line. Chris Louis gets that ahead of Stefan Dano in white. And Chris Louis with the very last turn of the wheel. I'm sure we'll see the photo finish. It's desperately close, but for my money, Chris Louis did what he had to. The last turn of the wheel should have been enough. Stefan Dano will go out, and Chris Louis will stay in, assuming the photo finish shows me exactly what I think happened, that Peter KARLSSON is safely through.
Yeah, I would certainly have given that second place there to Chris Louis. It looked very, very close on the line, but he had the speed as they crossed the line, just ahead of Stefan Dano, but it certainly happened on the last turn. Chris was plugging away all the time, but he really felt that he had a good line. He stuck at it for the whole race. This is the start. Peter KARLSSON on the inside in the blue. He's the one that leads into the first corner. The two guys behind him, Stefan Dano and Chris Louis, look a little bit stiff. There's no doubt Chris Louis really went far too wide on that first turn, but now he's in pursuit of Stefan Dano. Stefan's holding that tight line there ahead of him. Now Chris, we know he likes to ride that inside line, and here we are, the finish. Chris just gets that, on my judgment, by about half a wheel, and that's maybe a quarter of a wheel, Tony.
Well, it was desperately close, and our referee Tony Steele will have to adjudicate. Listen to the crowd noise. I think they're fairly happy with the Union Jacks here, but it must have been desperately close, so I know the technology should be able to show us that photo finish in just a moment. There it is. Chris Louis given that second place ahead of Stefan Dano. He goes out. Chris Louis marches on to heat 19. Peter KARLSSON to heat 20. Both are within one race of the semi-finals. What action, what a ride, just in time for that man who was so shaken up, Chris Louis.
Yeah, Chris did really well. He's bought himself a bit of time there by getting that second place, because Chris is going to be out now in heat 19. where we're just coming up to 17, so Chris can probably get himself sorted out, and that's the photo finish there, and we can see there probably about 6 inches, no more, and fabulous riding from Chris.
Well, that's the advantage we now have with all the electronic aids, and the referee now has the benefit of that before making his judgment, and it just shows what technology can do to get the right decision. As we move on now to heat number 17. There in the white helmet colours, Jason Crump, who we saw looking at his starting position, a position which he engineered by coming deliberately second in heat 12. On the inside is Martin Dugard in the red helmet colours. Michael KARLSSON goes from gate 2 in blue from Sweden. Jason Crump, the Aussie, who engineered his gate position in white. His fellow Aussie, Lee Adams. Crump now living up on the Gold Coast. Lee Adams from Mildura in Victoria. That is the lineup. 2 Australians, a Swede, and the wildcard Englishman on the inside. That is the Swede, Michael KARLSSON. He's had a battle more rides than anybody tonight.
Yeah, he certainly has. He seems as though he's been in every race, but with his brother out there as well, it probably looks more, Tony. But Jason Crump's the man here, I think. There he is. He's just adjusting his goggles there. He's got gate 3. Not a bad position to be in. We know he's slow, so he could get in that gate position in his next race, and this is the one. And let's see what he can do with it now he's got it.
And Martin Dugard on the inside will be looking at the surprise wildcard who makes the gate and is to the apex of the bend. Martin Dugard holds it tight, but Crump's got the speed. Crump goes down the outside. Dugard comes back on the inside. Dugard takes him wide, but Crump is a tough rider. Dugard is tough as well, and now Dugard's he's back into 3rd place with Lee Adams coming through into 2nd place. But Martin Dugard will have to pick it up again, and does. Look at Martin Dugard coming up the inside, and Adams is going to have work to do. What a ride that is, but Crump out front is looking absolutely superb. It's a ding-dong battle behind him, because now Crump is in 2nd place and Adams has come through, and now the Aussies can team ride to keep Martin Dugard out of it with a lap and a half to go.
Yeah, quietly Lee Adams was just sneaking up there on Jason Crump, and down the back straight there, he looked so quick there, the way he just cruised past Jason Crump. Jason really slipped up. He was quite worried about Martin Dugard's challenge, but that allowed Lee Adams to go by him.
That fades now, and Lee Adams in the yellow helmet colours wins this. In 2nd place is Jason Crump, but Martin Dugard tumbles out, beaten but not disgraced. A great night for him. Certainly back in 4th place. Michael KARLSSON goes out as well, but the 2 Aussies, Lee Adams in yellow, that man there, and Jason Crump marches on, and I'm sure that Jason Crump gate 4 and heat 20, of course, is the option here, because the first 2 go direct to the semis, which is what we've seen here, and Martin Dugard will stay in. My mistake there, of course, with losing the heats there, eliminations. We know, in fact, that Jason Crump and Lee Adams go through to the semis. Then Martin Dugard and Michael KARLSSON, well, they have a chance to try again. It's losing the heats there. Lots of action here, and Martin Dugard could still be in it, Peter.
He certainly could. There's no doubt about that. There, looking really sharp there in front at this moment is Jason Crump. Jason looks to have this race sewn up, but just look at Lee Adams come into the picture there. Lee's riding a very, very wide line. His back wheel's just in that dirt. And look there, Jason Crump looks round thinking Martin Dugard was coming inside him. Never even thought about Lee Adams, and Lee just sailed round the outside. Bit of a slip up there from Jason, but that's good enough to take him into the main event.
Yes, well, Martin Dugard, in fact, will go through to riding gate 3 in heat 19, and Michael KARLSSON will go from the outside in heat 20. Remember, the last 2 in those will be eliminated, but those 2, Lee Adams and Jason Crump, go through to the semi-finals, heat 21 and heat 22, respectively. Now, we move on to heat number 18. That man there in blue, Mark Loram, will once again surely thrill the crowd. And remember, the first 2 in this go direct through to the semi-finals, and Mark Loram has plenty of support from his fans here in this Brandon Stadium. And there he is, the number 16, with the blue helmet colour. Inside him in red will be Ryan Sullivan. On the outside in yellow is Todd WILTSHIRE. White helmet colours, Greg Hancock, of course, on his home league track here. A lot of competition here tonight, Peter, and a few surprises indeed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Mark, because he told us that he's changed bikes. He wasn't happy with that first bike. I mean, that bike looked pretty quick to me, but he seems to think that this second bike's even better, so the proof now is going to be in the pudding, Tony.
Well, Mark Laram is the man that most of this crowd will be cheering for. Mark Laram, the man that will be backing this. But Todd WILTSHIRE, among the Aussies in this, too, no doubt have some influence in the yellow helmet colours. This is the other 18. Remember, heat 24 the final. He's 23 for places 5 to 8. The B final, 2 semi-finals before that. Here, this and 2 more to go before we reach that stage. Starling Marshall struggling to get them into line here now. Smoke coming out of Mark Laram's machinery, but away he gets, lifts slightly here, but on the inside going through is Ron Sullivan. Sullivan picks it up. Mark Laram is now, looking up and tumbling down is Todd WILTSHIRE. I wonder how our referee will see that. Todd WILTSHIRE is getting up and remounting. The others are continuing. It will mean that Todd WILTSHIRE has to try again. And Mark Laram's in second place now behind Ron Sullivan. Round the outside he goes in pursuit of the Aussie. In third place on the inside is Greg Hancock. He may have to try again. Mark Laram goes wide. Hancock picks up some grip inside. The Mark Laram, again with half the race gone, gets into second place and now can put some pressure on Ron Sullivan out front because he's picking up speed down that back straight.
Yeah, you see Mark's trying the outside. He knows that's going to work later on in the meeting. He wants to try it. He wants to see if it'll work for him, but it's certainly bringing him closer to Ryan Sullivan, Tony. There's no doubt about that.
Mark Laram, the joint leader of the Grand Prix Series, is going to go through to the semi-finals and make the main event and keep in contention here now because Todd WILTSHIRE is cruising round now. We'll have to go again. But the checkered flag is out to greet the rider in red, Ron Sullivan, ahead of Mark Laram in blue. Both of those go through to the semi-finals, short of a place in the main event in the next Grand Prix in Voyens. And Greg Hancock and Todd WILTSHIRE will have to go again. The first 2 directly through to the semi-finals. A fine ride by that man from Adelaide, Ron Sullivan. In that one, he takes the checkered flag from the inside. Well, the gates are mixing up a little bit now, Peter, but he had a good start.
Yeah, he did. On the inside, Ryan Sullivan, he just made a beauty there. But right from the inside to the outside, just look at that back wheel there. It's on the grip on the outside. Todd WILTSHIRE does that complete spin round there. It just shows you the contrasting conditions on the track. That's Mark Laram there in the blue helmet. Missed the start totally. Now he's already planning his manoeuvre. He's going to cut back to the inside. He's going to turn very tightly early on there. Greg Hancock's just to the outside of him. Now Mark's cutting back to the inside. There is the incident with Todd WILTSHIRE. Again, this time he's run right in the back of Greg Hancock. We saw him do that earlier on with Joe Screen. And this is it from another angle. He gets a lot of speed there in the wrong place. And certainly Greg Hancock was very lucky to hang on to that bike.
Well, Mark Laram will be delighted with that result. In second place behind Ron Sullivan. Through to the semi-finals, Greg Hancock and Todd WILTSHIRE will have to go again. Mark Laram, joint leader of the Grand Prix Series, is through to the top 8. Tony RICHARDSON, who's on level points with him, still has to go again. Lots more to come.
Britain's grooviest secret agent.
Oh, hey, baby.
Is back.
Do you swing?
Are you kidding, baby? I put the gar in swinger, baby.
It's Austin.
You don't have to be cute with me.
Without the powers.
I've lost my mojo.
And evil is multiplying.
I shall call him Mini.
Starring Mike Myers, Heather Graham, and Mike Myers.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
Austin Powers 2, one of 25 movies now showing on Sky Box Office.
This man is about to save someone's life. Yesterday, he gave blood. Do something amazing today. Call 0345 711 711. Please.
Friends, good people, listen. Can you hear it? Divorce is in the air, and it could save you money. Come, get divorced. Jack. I now pronounce you divorced and free from your old mobile network. Go forth and make cheap calls. Call Virgin Mobile on 0845 6000 750.
This is our live coverage from the Brandon Stadium just outside Coventry for the British Speedway Grand Prix. Heat 19 and 20 will see 4 more men knocked out before we are into the finals part of tonight's meeting. What a meeting we've had here. Kelvin Tatum, British Grand Prix has lived up, hasn't it?
It certainly has. That race when we had Lee Adams, Jason Crump and Martin Dugard, 3 abreast down the back straight, well, that was the best race of the night. And how there was room for, there wasn't room for them, was there, Sam? They just, I don't know, they all squeezed round somehow.
After all the problems we had in that first turn from the races before that, that was just a delight to see. That just goes to show there's true racers out there. When you give them the room, they can really excel.
Well, right now we've got 3 Australians and 1 Brit through to the semi-finals. Gary, bit to do still here.
Yeah, we have, and you know, Chris was unlucky being on the end of that big pile-up, and he looked visibly shaken for the first couple of laps of that race, but he managed to claw back. He's just snatched second place on the line, and he's back out again straight in this one, and this is a tough race. So
it's a very, very tough race.
To really be on his toes to get through this one.
Well, we've got Tony Rickardson, the world champion, Chris Louis, Martin Dugard, who has been brilliant throughout the meeting, and I'm looking to make some money out of him later on. Todd Wiltshire is back in as well. He was very unfortunate to clip the back of Greg Hancock in that last heat, but
yeah,
he has a last chance, really, doesn't he, here?
Certainly does. He's a very good starter. I think he's probably quite happy coming off gate 4. He sort of parked himself up right against the kickboards, and he's looking for that punch off the dirt up against the kickboards. But I don't think we can really look much further than this man here, to be quite honest. I think Richardson's getting his race face really dialed in now.
I'll tell you what, talking about dialed in, he is it's a good job gate 1 is sharpening up a bit, because he's had 3 off the inside gate, hasn't he? 3 heats off the inside gate.
Look back at the GP here last year. I think he came off 4 races off gate 1, and then it was all over.
That's it.
But it hasn't been a lot of good in the early parts of this meeting, Sam. It's
no, that's right.
Towards the part where it counts, though.
That's right. But right now, the way the track is slickening off, maybe the gates 3 and 4 that were maybe the favorite ones earlier on now are leveling off, because they're actually riding over that when they're racing, so it kind of slickens the track off a bit. So gate 1's kind of coming in its own now.
Well, you can hear huge support for the 2 British riders out there again. Not that they don't love everybody that races Speedway here at the British Grand Prix, but Chris Louis and Martin Dugard, they have got to finish 1st and 2nd if they're going to go through to the semi-finals. The last 2 in this heat will be knocked out and will be on their way home or to the bar, whatever their preference is. Tony Millard, over to you, mate.
Joint leaders in the Grand Prix next to each other, Tony Rickardson in red and Chris Louis in blue. The current world champion, Tony Rickardson, will mark the run. Sorry, I beg to join lead. Tony Rickardson, the world champion, alongside Chris Louis on the inside there. Gate 3, Martin Dugard, and gate 4 is Todd WILTSHIRE. Away they go, and look at the start from Chris Louis there. He's got the jump on Tony Rickardson, and now the challenge is on, because Rickardson is back in 3rd place. Martin Dugard comes through, and the 2 Brits could put Tony Rickardson out of this Grand Prix. What a ride by the 2 Brits here. Chris Louis and Martin Dugard. Dugard goes wide. Rickardson has work to do. Rickardson will pick up the speed. Dugard now goes through inside Chris Louis. Oh, dear, look at Rickardson. Dugard pushed Louis wide, and Rickardson came through, I think, there. But Dugard now is out front, and Chris Louis has work to do, Peter.
Yes, that was a shame for Chris, because Martin came up the inside, and I think Chris probably thought it was Tony Rickardson, because we could have had an England 1-2 here at that point. It really wouldn't have mattered which way round they would have finished, Tony.
Well, it looks as if Tony Rickardson will now get through to the semi-finals, and the wild card Martin Dugard holds the lead, and Chris Louis will tumble out. And dear, oh dear, oh dear, what disappointment for Chris Louis, because it all looked safe and sure from the start, but now Martin Dugard in white ahead of Tony Rickardson in red, and both go through to the semis. And Chris Louis, well, he will be desperately disappointed there in the blue helmet colours ahead of Todd WILTSHIRE. Both of those go out, and the wild card Martin Dugard takes the checkered flag once again. He stormed back, and well, the only disappointment there was perhaps that manoeuvre on that top bend, Peter, that saw Chris Louis drop behind Tony Rickardson.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Chris there, what happened. On the inside, Tony Rickardson makes not the best of starts, lifts, but right into the first turn. Chris Louis certainly rejuvenated after that accident there, but all pumped up for that first turn. But look at Martin Dugard come steaming into the picture. Now here we've got Tony Rickardson just gets ahead there of Chris Louis after Martin had gone by him, and Chris gets pushed out there into no man's land by Tony Rickardson, riding the GMs this year for the first time, and certainly getting used to those bikes. There was the overtake there from, look at Martin Dugard, right out to the dirt. Chris Louis unfortunately gets pushed right out into the outside. nowhere to go for him at all but to shut the throttle off, and Chris is out of tonight's GP.
Well, real disappointment, but Martin Dugard's through to the semi-finals along with Tony Rickardson. Chris Louis and Todd Wiltshire tumble out as a result of that controversial, perhaps, Heat 19. And, of course, the same format applies to Heat 20, which follows in a moment. And Greg Hancock is in this one, of course, on his home track. Swede Peter Karlsson, Aussie Jason Lance, American Greg Hancock, and Michael Karlsson, the second time the Karlsson brothers have been direct opposition. In the background there we see Bob Dugard, the father of Martin, and then, well, the discussions there certainly important as to what's going to happen. But that man in white, Greg Hancock, the fans here at Coventry will be cheering for him to win through to the semi-finals, Peter, and that man in yellow is Michael Karlsson.
Yes, he is. Interestingly, Jason Lyons has been doing very, very well on the quiet. He's come in, there he is, he's come in for Thomas Golub with the injury, and he's just been getting on with it. He's having a great run in the league at the moment, and we could see Jason Lyons in the semi-finals here, the way he's going.
Well, Jason Lyons a late replacement, Martin Dugard a wild card, the form book being turned upside down, but before the meeting, one or two people predicting could Martin Dugard be the Grand Prix champion? That's coming in as a wild card, and, well, funnier things have happened, haven't they?
Well, it's probably the best year Martin's had, and he certainly started the season under a bit of a cloud after his problems last year, but he's certainly just picked it up and gone from strength to strength this year.
Line up then for Heat 20. Remember, the front two go through to the semi-finals. The second door, the last two drop out. Peter Karlsson in red goes from the inside. Jason Lyons, the replacement for Thomas Golub, he goes in blue. Gate 3, Greg Hancock from the USA on his home track. Coventry here in the British Elite League, and Michael Karlsson in yellow goes from the outside. Remember, the first two make the semi-finals, the last two will be eliminated respectively, getting 8 and 7 Grand Prix points. But that man in red there is Peter Karlsson, there's his brother Mike on the outside. Oh, a little bit of tape touching there on the inside. I don't know what our referee would do about that, but he's got away with it, it seems, Peter Karlsson. Away he goes on the inside, but now picking it up in blue on the outside of him is Jason Lyons. But and Jason Lyons gets the drop there out of that bend and takes the lead here. And as Peter said, coming along quietly and looking as if he's now going to win this heat. In second place in white now is Greg Hancock. He's battling but going wide. He's taken Peter Karlsson wide. The Karlssons now are the last two. The two Swedes could tumble out. And Jason Lyons and Greg Hancock, if it stays like this, will march on to the semi-finals.
Yeah, just look at Jason Lyons going the blue, going fantastically. He looks so fast and strong. Now, he isn't in the World Championship this year. He's in for a replacement ride for Thomas Golub, but he rides in the Intercontinental Final in Denmark on the 12th of August, and he could qualify for next year's GP.
Well, he only missed out by a point from the Grand Prix Challenge this year, did Jason Lyons, but Greg Hancock is having trouble at the back there with Michael Karlsson putting him under pressure, and it's going to be tight here, but Jason Lyons is going to take the checkered flag, and it looks now as if Greg Hancock will hold it, and hold it just in there in the white helmet colours to take second place. It means the Karlsson brothers, Michael and Peter, are both out of this. Disappointment for them, but certain glory there for the Aussie Jason Lyons in blue and the American, the captain of Coventry, Greg Hancock, in white. Both of them winning through to the semi-finals. There's plenty more interesting speedway to come, but that man Jason Lyons and Martin Dugard, perhaps the surprise packets here tonight.
That's right, Tony. He's really impressed me, Jason Lyons. Just look at that, such a determined starting first corner. He's in the blue helmet there. He led into the turn. He's run right for the dirt on the outside. We saw that's where Mark Lorham's been riding earlier on, but he's just got enough speed there to stay ahead of the opposition. Greg Hancock was at the back there in the white helmet. Now Greg's tried a big manoeuvre there, and he's gone past the Karlsson brothers there beautifully. He's taken one on the outside, and then he takes Peter on the inside. But again, on the start here, it was all down to Jason Lyons in the blue, just getting there ahead, but there, right in the centre of the picture, Greg Hancock has missed the start totally and been pushed very, very wide, but there, sailing past on the inside, Jason Lyons steamed off to win that race, and there, Greg Hancock did a marvellous job there, just to squeeze between the Karlsson brothers to take that win, to take the second place, sorry.
Well, it's certainly pretty interesting how they're going to line up, because there are 3 Australians in one semi-final along with Tony Rickardson in Ron Sullivan, Jason Lyons and Jason Crump. And certainly with the victory there in that heat, Jason Lyons and Greg Hancock going through to the semi-finals. And well, there's plenty more to come here because we've got 2 semi-finals, the consolation final and the final. Plenty more to come here as the action reaches its climax here at the British Grand Prix at Brandon Stadium here in Coventry.
Giants of the game, fighting a grueling campaign, battling their way to the title, fueled by aggression, driven by adrenaline, and loaded with attitude. Super League, where the strong survive and the weak perish. The bone-crunching season continues. Bradford Leeds, Sunday at 7, exclusively live, Sky Sports 3.
One-to-one. The pay-as-you-go phone you can use abroad.
Any food tastes supreme with Heinz salad cream.
Flippin' it, it's like a cattle market in here.
But hey!
We are into the finals. These are the riders that have been eliminated, though. These are the last men out. Michael KARLSSON. Chris Louis is gone. He'll thank Martin Dogood for that, I'm sure. Peter KARLSSON, Todd WILTSHIRE, Stefano. Dano is out as well. Carl Stonehewer, we saw him go out earlier. Joe Screen is out. Lee Richardson went out. Andy Smith has gone out. So a disaster for the Brits. There's only 2 of them left in the finals as we come to the semis. Well, we've got 4 Aussies, 2 Brits, 1 Yank and a Swede. So it's going to be a fairly competitive evening. We can say the Aussies are going quite well, Gary.
Yeah, to be fair, the Australians, they're real strong now in World Cup.
Really?
Really strong. They've got a lot of top guys. They won the World Team Cup last year, and you know, they're going to take some stopping in the World Team Cup again this year.
Well, I think semi-final number 1 is very strong. I mean, you've got Mark Laram in there, Lee Adams, Martin Dogood and Greg Hancock. That's going to be a tough one, isn't it?
No easy races now, Keith.
Well, yeah,
but Adams is looking really good. Loram looked very sharp.
Okay, let's go for one. Jason Lyons, as I wag my finger across the front of you there, Kelvin. Jason Lyons is absolutely going brilliant. And actually, he's down with Susie Perez, if we can go straight down there. Susie, you've got Jason with you.
I have, thank you very much. Jason, I just can't believe this is your first Grand Prix.
Yeah, I've been unlucky, you know, missing out by the odd point here and there, and every year, you know, so I've actually been trying for a damn long time, and I got the opportunity to, this one was given to me, you know, so I'm happy, and I'm trying to do my best to enjoy myself.
Well, Jason, into the semi-finals now, and going off at the same gate that you went off in the last heat, so, how do you feel about that?
Well, it's not a bad gate, I don't think. I don't know what the percentages are, but, you know, I've been on it all night, so I'm just taking it to my advantage.
Okay, so you're enjoying yourself tonight as much as we are, I guess?
Yes.
Well done, Jason. Well, good luck in the semi-final. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over now to Peter and Tony for this semi-final.
Well, you could do, but you're going to me first, Suze. You look lovely.
Sorry, we're going to go to...
That's okay. You look lovely down there anyway. So then, let's take a look at the way the gates are. We have Greg Hancock in red, Mark Laram in blue. Lee Adams will go off the white gate, and Martin Dogood on the outside, and he looks aggressive if ever there was one. Ryan Sullivan, Jason Lyons, Jason Crump and Tony RICHARDSON going off the outside in Heat 22. They are the semi-finals, and that is how they will line up. And one has to say, Jason Lyons, who replaced Thomas Golob here, straight into the seeded riders part. There was a bit of controversy regarding Jason Lyons going in, but to me, he's looked very good out there, straight away, straight from the...
Yeah, he's been in good form in this country and abroad. He's no question, he's a quality rider. He's a low-key sort of guy. A lot of times you wouldn't even hardly know he's there, but he's doing a lot of talking on the track this year.
Let's go back to the betting. Talking of the betting there, Gary, I've got to say that Martin Dogood's odds are looking really good right now. If you had some money on him, because the way he dispensed with Chris Louis and helped Tony Richardson through, I thought Richardson was going out if we got a 1-2.
Yeah, without a doubt.
This is to do with your money on him, I'm sure, kid.
It is actually, yes, you're quite right. Okay, we'll finish with that right now here in the studio. Let's get down to the track because there they are. 2 Brits have got to go through if they can. We need the 2 Brits to finish first and second, and I'm sure Pete Collins and Tony Millard in the commentary position will be something along that as well.
Greg Hancock from the inside from the USA and Coventry. Mark Loram from Poole and England. He goes from gate 2. Lee Adams from Kings Lynn and Australia goes from gate 3. And on the outside, Martin Dugard from Eastbourne and England. Martin Dugard, a wild card, of course. Mark Loram, joint leader in the Grand Prix. That's what we want to see, our 2 Brits. Let's see, well, away they go now. On the inside in red is Greg Hancock, picks it up. Coming round on the outside there in white now is Lee Adams. Oh, coming through there in Martin Dugard came through there like a knife through butter. And Martin Dugard in yellow there, but we want to see Mark Loram in blue. He's through into 3rd place now as we go into the final lap. The Grand Prix leader could be short of points, but he's going to pick it up here. Mark Loram goes through into 2nd place inside Greg Hancock. What a brilliant ride yet again from Mark Loram.
Yeah, he made such a long straight of that to go by Greg Hancock. He was way back on the pits turn, but Greg's coming back at him, but Mark's on the outside line. He's still got all that speed. We know that's where he wants to be. If he can just hang on, we'll get 2 Brits again going into the main event, the final.
While he's stolen a march there on Greg Hancock, Mark Loram goes wide. Mark Loram comes through. Martin Dugard, the wild card, is out front. Martin Dugard almost lifts, almost comes off there, but Martin Dugard will take the checkered flag here. Mark Loram will be in 2nd place and is through where it matters. 3rd place in red there goes to Greg Hancock. But our lads in the studio, glory, glory, hallelujah for the Brits. Martin Dugard and Mark Loram. What a ride by those 2. The Union Jacks are flying. Keep Hewin.
Thank you very much, Tony Millard. You're absolutely right. This place is alive. Coventry Speedway then. Well, we've never seen racing quite as good as this at the British Grand Prix, and we've seen some good British Grand Prix. Superb stuff. Talk us through this, Sam Amalenko.
Well, Greg did his best off the inside there to try to make something out of it. But when you got Mark Loram charging on you, it's hard to do it. But there's old Dugard, just squared off the corner and got his wheels in line and just showed him which way to go.
His bike's working so good. You see here Mark Loram, he just lifted a little bit too hard. He gets squeezed going to the first corner. But look, Martin Dugard's really not in the race at the moment. You know, but he does a smart first corner, and as we saw earlier, his bike is putting all the power on the ground.
Well, to the point where he was lifting down the back straight big time. He's getting so much grip, so he's really making it work.
Yeah, it's a great feeling that, though. You know, it's sort of a thing where you can enjoy yourself, where the front wheel's light and you're going forward all the time.
I remember Gary Havelock on the outside of one of mine Dugard's lifts once.
So do I.
But that was a great pass by Mark Loram. He was battling away in 3rd, but he actually outrode Greg there, to be fair. He sort of really worked, doesn't he?
Yeah, he comes in wide and turns back and gets his wheels in line.
The track looks to me like it's come together just perfectly at this moment. Martin Dugard, Mark Loram, 2 Brits go through to the final. I repeat, 2 Brits, Martin Dugard and Mark Loram, are through to the final. They were the only 2 Brits in the semi-finals. Both of them have gone through. Bad luck, Sam.
Well, the thing of it is you got one of the guys leading the World Championships in there, and you got the wild card in this. You got the extremes of both ends, and Mark Loram showing you guys proud.
Well, Martin Dugard certainly is an extreme, no doubt about that. Oh,
you know, all of a sudden the World Championship's wide open here because you've got, you know, Crum and RICHARDSON. RICHARDSON desperately just in that semi-final where he's seen Loram go through to the final. So pressure's on him to perform here.
So we've got Ryan Sullivan, Jason Crum, Jason Lyons, who is riding out of his socks. He's riding in place of Thomas Golob, and we've got Tony RICHARDSON, the reigning world champion, and the man that is equal on 55 points with Mark Loram in the World Series at the moment. This is crucial. RICHARDSON, if he goes into the consolation final here, it's going to be Loramski again that's on top of the world. Yeehaw, we hear it from in here. Let's go back to our commentary box then. Breaking out in the sweat down there yet, Tone?
It's mighty hot here, it's mighty hot on the track. 3 Aussies and a Swede, but the Swede's the current world champion. Ron Sullivan goes in red from the inside from Aussie. Jason Lyons from Aussie, late replacement. He goes from gate 2. Jason Crump, gate 3. But Tony Rickardson, the world champion, goes from the outside. And if he finishes in the first 2, he's in the final, and it'll be a battle between the 2 leaders of the Grand Prix Series. What a meeting here, PC. Anything can happen in this one.
Yeah, Tony Rickardson on gate 4. It's a long, long way round that outside. Jason Lyons is going off gate 2 again in the blue. We saw Jason just rocket round that first turn, off 2 before. So just let's see what he can do now.
Well, our starting marshal moves away, and away they go. And on the inside, Ron Sullivan gets it where he wants. Tony Rickardson now will come back on the... Oh! Into the fence, tumbles Jason Crump. And I wonder if our referee will have to stop this because he bikes on the track. He does, and probably Jason Crump could be excluded from this fun. The referee has stopped that race. A really interesting incident. From this angle, it's very difficult to see how much space Jason Crump had. He's furious, and he has been excluded by our referee, Tony Steele. Unfortunate for Jason Crump, twice the winner of the British Grand Prix, but tumbles out into that safety fence. Peter Collins, you can see it here.
Yeah, a good decision there by the referee, Tony Steele. Jason Crump in the white helmet gets to the first corner. When his bike hits that grip on the outside there, his bike just straightens up. Too much grip. He's on the back wheel, his front wheel turned out and down. He has to lay that bike down into that air fence again. No injuries, but certainly the referee was dead right with that. I know it was the first turn, but Jason really did go skyways at that point. Lost it under his own steam, and to exclude him, dead right by the referee.
It makes it a lot easier, of course, now for Tony Rickardson, the world champion and joint leader, to qualify for that final, Peter. He's only got to finish in front of 1.
Yeah, on the outside, it's very, very difficult for Tony. Tony missed the start totally, and now he's only got 2 riders to beat. But there, Jason Crump walking back to the pits, I'm sure very, very disappointed, and looks as though he's had his razor out again recently, Tony.
Well, it's certainly a cut above the others for Jason Crump, that haircut, but disappointment for him here because, well, with success tonight, he could have closed that gap because Jason Crump went into the Grand Prix here tonight in 6th place with 42 points. A win in this would have taken him on to 67 and put him right in contention, but it's not to be. And, well, our man Tony Rickardson, the world champion, is still very much in this one.
Yeah, Tony's going to grab this chance again with both hands. I'm sure he wasn't very happy to be on the outside starting position. Ryan Sullivan's been going so well. Ryan's on the inside in red. That's Ryan there. But Jason Lyons, I just have a feeling about Jason. He's got a lot to prove. He wants to be in the Grand Prix. He really does. Like he said, he's missed out on a number of years only by the odd couple of points and places. And he wants to be in it, and he wants to prove himself. And that's Jason there. That's Jason Crump actually having a drink. But his night basically is over apart from the consolation final.
Well, the clock's running down as well. We're down to 15 seconds here, and there are a few problems. There's 1 or 2 machines being warmed up, and I think all 3 riders now are at tapes and will be underway. This is the second of the 2 semi-finals. We know already through to the final, and certainly impressive tonight, the 2 Brits, Martin Dugard and Mark Moran. Here's the lineup with that gap. Tony Rickardson wide, tries to creep on the inside. Ron Sullivan in red, taken wide by Jason Lyons is Tony Rickardson. Rickardson's at the back. And, well, he's got some work to do here to get in front of these 2 Aussies, because out front is Ron Sullivan. Ron Sullivan is heading them down the straight, and Tony Rickardson almost appears to be going backwards at the moment. Jason Lyons goes wide, but Rickardson will wait for any little gap, any little niche to get through, and there's a lot of racing to do yet.
Yes, Tony, the Australians are the current world team champions, but you can never discount Tony Rickardson. Tony's in 3rd, but he will have a go right to the finish. There you see him catch that bit of grip, used it to his advantage, but Jason Lyons is such a good rider. He just seems to be holding off Rickardson.
Well, way out front is Ron Sullivan, but here comes Rickardson. Lyons will pick it up and oh, he almost takes Lyons into the fence, but that manoeuvre should be enough to earn Tony Rickardson a place in the final, unless Lyons can come back off the bend. He does! Oh, he does! He's done it! Tony Rickardson is surely out of that. A brilliant ride by Jason Lyons, who's now come off his bike. Tony Rickardson Richardsson is absolutely furious. Ron Sullivan in front won it. It's all on the photo finish. But I think we're going to have to watch this, and our referee will have to see it very, very closely. For my money, Jason Lyons just got through on the line there. It was desperately close, but Ryan Sullivan knows he's through to the final. The rest almost in the lap of the God's PC. We can go to the lads in the studio. What a race, what an incident at the end.
Unbelievable scenes here. We have got a row going on here.
We need a rerun, Keith.
We do need a rerun. Well, the crowd are all screaming, and we're going to get the rerun right now.
Richardson was cool in this race, you know. He just kept himself together. He didn't panic, and he passed Jason Lyons here, as we see. He pinches him off there.
You said he was going to do that. Class move,
It was a class move, and there's no question.
Class call, I've got to say.
You have to watch it when Tony's behind him because he puts in the
corner. And the crowd are going potty out here at the moment. We have got a real row going on.
Must have got second there, side, because if Jason Lyons gets second, that's a big bonus for Mark Loram. Big bonus.
Well, we saw Mark Loram watching with Susie Perry just a moment ago. There it is, Lyons has got it excluded.
Well, that's,
but Richardson then is in the consolation final. Mark Loram has got a clear run at the top of this championship. Superb scenes here.
He's got 2 wild cards against him, Keith. He's got an opportunity to win the A final here.
Ryan Sullivan, Jason Lyons, Tony Richardson, Jason Crump. That's how it's been given. Mark Loram is with Susie in pit lane. We're live.
Well, Mark, a little smile from Mark there. Good news for you, that.
Yeah, you know, we've got a long way to go yet, but certainly that's helped my chances of, you know, getting a few points up.
Were you actually watching the heat when it went out?
Yeah, I was, you know, and, well, you never wish anyone bad results, but, you know, in this sort of situation, it's all a bonus.
Okay, all right, well, it's good to see you smiling.
Yeah.
Okay, controversy as ever down here. So let's go back to the lads in the studio. Mr. Ewan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Susie. You can see there, that is the photo finish. Well, Tony Richardson has no room to dispute that whatsoever. The technology we have now at trackside is so good, nobody can do anything about it. Well, I've got to say, boys, that was something a bit special. Tony Richardson has been hanging on by the skin of his teeth, even fingernails, throughout this programme, and really he's just paid for it, hasn't he?
Well, he was unfortunate because he did such a good ride to get past Jason Lyons. He just left too much room, and fair play to Jason Lyons. He kept in there, didn't give up. He wasn't despondent when Richardson went by him, nicked him back on the line.
If you race with Jason Lyons, like me and Gary do on league racing, Jason's just so good, and he doesn't give up. He's just a fighter over the end. Tony probably doesn't realize how much of a fighter Jason is, but he does now because he nipped him at the end, you know?
He certainly fought back with that one. Well, we've got a big decision between Dugard, Sullivan, Loram and Lyons. We're looking now down in pit lane, and there is the man with the biggest smile on his face, Jason Lyons, who's having a hell of a night here at the British Grand Prix. How many times have we seen an Australian win the British Grand Prix?
Oh
dear.
Several times.
Thing with Jason,
well,
too,
Jason Crump's certainly not going to do it again this time round. What a sight this is. We've got a great night on here. So, in the consolation final, Hancock, Richardson, Adams and Crump. That's actually a tough consolation final.
Well, that's actually, to be honest, an A final. You know, like on the seedings of the World Championship, you know, you say that 2 wild cards in the A final is unusual.
But you've also got to say that Richardson, by no way, is guaranteed 5th place in this night. Richardson could not win the consolation final because that's a tough.
This is a huge opportunity for Mark Loram. If he can manage to raise his game and win the A final, he can pull some serious points out on his rivals.
Well, we're looking at Jason Lyons off to the right there, and Tony Richardson.
Damaged limitation now.
Yeah, really.
He's just got to get his head together. He'll be disappointed, but he knows there's a job to be done. He's got to win that B final.
Same as Mark Loram had to do last time out. Mark Loram won the consolation final last time, minimised the damage. But Tony Richardson, we've seen him sitting on his haunches a bit tonight. It's not quite working for him round Coventry, and despite that class move, they've fought back, haven't they?
Absolutely, and I think that he's struggled. I would say after the meeting he'll say we never really got the right setup all night. But fair play to him, he's kept in there, and if he can win the consolation final, then his World Championship is still very much on course.
Okay, well the consolation final is coming up. That is Heat 23 officially, but what I want to know from you guys, give you a bit of a chance to think about it, is what gate would you go from when we get to the big decision? You know, like this whole place has changed over. First, the inside was nowhere near right early on, and then it seems to have gone now, a real mix and match.
Yeah, I think probably 1 or 2.
Keith. Personally, if I was in the race, I'd go off 2 or 3.
I like a man who makes a decision really quickly.
I think 2 seems to have been the gate, possibly. One is working all right, but it's sort of too far over.
And the thing of it is, wherever you do start, if you're inside of the good guys, you can make a gate with them. You can dictate what you want.
You're going to go.
Yeah.
I tell you though, you're looking at this. You look at the final, the big final, the grand finale that we've got here. We have got 4 guys that are real scrappers.
Yeah.
What's the betting on the first corner? First corner bunching.
You know, we have got 2 wild cards in there, as it were, as Calvin said. But to be fair to the 2 wild card guys, they actually deserve to be there. The way they've ridden tonight.
Yeah.
And you know, you got
I don't mean they don't deserve to be there. It's just unusual that you will get one quiet. You know, like Jason Lyons is his first Grand Prix.
Well, let me give you a bit of a rundown. Ryan Sullivan has first choice. Martin Dugard has second choice. Laram third, and Jason Lyons takes what's left.
I would see Sullivan. I reckon he might go for the inside myself.
Absolutely, I agree with that, because if you can dominate to the first corner, you got the whole racetrack to pick where you want to go.
But Dugard's bike's working so good off the corners.
Well, there's a lot of talent down on the grid, and we can go back to the commentary position in a moment. This is very important for Richardson to minimise the damage. He needs to finish 5th in this championship position tonight by winning the consolation final. But I've got to say, with Hancock, Adams and Crump all in mean moods, Richardson is no way guaranteed that he's going to finish 5th tonight. It is a very big order. He's just about been hanging on throughout the night. I don't know how PC sees it, but Peter Collins, big job for Tony Richardson.
You're right, Keith, it certainly is. Tony's got to really pull something out of this one, because if he wants to stay in the hunt, he's going to lose points on Mark Laram, there's no doubt about that. Mark's in the driving seat tonight, but as Mark said, it's a long way through the season.
Greg Hancock goes from the inside. Lee Adams, gate 2. Tony Richardson, gate 3. But Jason Crump, we've tended to forget about. If he were to win this, he's not out of the Grand Prix Series. Jason Crump, I can tell you, going into this in 6th place on 42 points. And it's quite a competition, because Tony Richardson there desperately needs to win this to stay in contention with 2 Grand Prix to go. There's the lineup. This and one more race to go. We know that these men are in the top 8 next time out. Remember, well, the others who race in the next heat, Martin Dugard and Jason Lyons, can't be in the top 8. Dugard a wild card, Jason Lyons a late replacement. This heat 23. Remember, they're racing for places 5 to 8 in this Grand Prix. Away they go. Greg Hancock picks it up on the inside in red. He takes it, but coming through on the inside in blue is Lee Adams. It's a battle out front between Adams in blue. In red in 2nd place is Greg Hancock. Back in 3rd place in the white helmet colours there is Tony Richardson. Richardson has work to do, and Richardson will drop more points to Mark Laram here because he's struggling. But Richardson now picks it up and goes into 2nd place and sets out in pursuit of Lee Adams. Does Tony Richardson. Going wide, coming back in red is Greg Hancock. A real battle here, but Richardson's doing his best.
Yeah, that is why Tony Richardson is world champion. The way he went by there, Greg Hancock, a real championship ride there. He went inside him, very difficult tonight because there's all the grip out wide, but Tony went through on the inside.
While he's going to struggle to catch Lee Adams, who's looking in splendid form tonight, the Aussie. But in 2nd place, Tony Richardson, a damage limitation exercise in his quest to retain his world title. He's going to get 2nd place here, and that's going to provide him with valuable Grand Prix points as he takes 2nd place here, ahead of Greg Hancock in 3rd place. The points are there for Tony Richardson, because remember, 2nd place there gives him 12 points, moves him on to 67, but Mark Laram will open a gap at the end of the night. But Lee Adams is providing a night of glory at the moment. It's not a bad night for the Australians, and Tony Richardson knows that he will not be in the lead when they go to the Grand Prix in Boyens. Lee Adams here is enjoying himself.
Yeah, that gives Lee Adams 5th place overall tonight. Tony Richardson will be 5th now, but into the 1st corner, it's Greg Hancock that shows first. Greg's got a nice line there, but right on the inside, Lee Adams rides a totally different line. His front wheel was almost touching that curb. There's some fresh dirt, fresh grip right on that line, and he used it on the 1st turn as the other guys went the long, long way round. Again, Jason Crump on the outside, perhaps a little bit cautious this time. He didn't go into that dirt and give it a handful this time. He knows what can happen when you do that, but right in the centre of the picture there, it looks as though Greg Hancock was leading that race, but there in the blue, as he comes over the finish, Lee Adams takes that win.
Disappointment for Jason Crump with only 10 Grand Prix points. I counted to the 3rd place in the B final there for Greg Hancock. his best in the Grand Prix Series this year. But Lee Adams and Tony Richardson are among the points. Richardson, the world champion, is not out of it yet. Whatever happens, Mark Laram will lead the World Championship tonight. And the grand final is coming up. And we know with two Brits in that's Mark Laram and Martin Dugard, along with Jason Lyons and Ron Sullivan. It's Great Britain, England against Australia. The grand final, Heat 24, is coming up, and nobody has left the stadium.
Coming soon, brand new Harry Enfield.
I'm a mum.
New characters.
Rare that doctor prescribes tenpezolene. You must have had really bad diarrhea.
Playing in the rain doesn't suit me, like I lose all my control. Even with you.
And a new sitcom.
Oh, come on, serve a woman a pint. It's a pint for the fella, glass of white wine, fruit-based drink for the lady.
With Al Murray. Have you got any work going?
Aussies! It's instinct. They can sniff out a bar job from 14 pounds.
Brand new Harry Enfield and Time Gentlemen Please, coming soon to Sky One.
How you doing, man? Hanging out, playing football with your buddies?
Yeah, we get together once a week and go at it real good.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good time.
Let me ask you something. Why do they call American football, yet your foot barely touches the ball?
Right. What are you, Mr. Funny or something?
No, I'm not trying to be a Mr. Funny guy at all. I just want to know why they call it football.
But that's the way it is. It's in the dictionary. That's the way it's going to be.
You want another contradiction? Bud Light. Premium lager, yet lower calorie.
Nice.
You want to shake on that?
Sure.
We have to use our feet.
Here comes my girl, walking down the street. See how she walks, she's got a dance in me. I take away her hair.
Every little piece of extra from Wrigley's instantly unleashes a mighty blast of mintiness that leaves your breath totally fresh. So why keep it to yourself? You can't get fresher than Extra.
You rejoin us at the British Grand Prix in Coventry. Whatever happens tonight, Mark Laram will lead the world with 2 rounds left. Already taking gate 1 is Ryan Sullivan. Martin Dugard now making his big decision, looking to see where he wants to start. He has second choice, and he has chosen to go off 3. So Martin Dugard starts from 3. That leaves Mark Laram with a choice of the blue gate or the yellow and black gate. Which gate should he go for, Sam?
Well, he looks like he's gardening right now to gate 2. Hopefully he can make a start and get over the top of Ryan, but I think that's probably his best place is 2.
Mark Laram still trying to make the choice. Looks like it's going to be 2.
No,
he's made it. He's gone for 2. Okay, I was looking down at the time, so that means Jason Lyons has to go off the outside. There it is. There are the stats. And I've got to tell you, those 2 middle gates, as quite rightly Kelvin Tatum has already said, he's put his neck on the line a couple of times in here tonight, and quite right judging by that. And you hadn't seen those before, had you?
No, I hadn't. No.
And the inside gate has been the lousiest gate all night long. Just hasn't worked out, has it?
No, did you say it's working? It's been working a bit later towards the end of the meeting, but earlier on it wasn't so good.
Well,
gate 4 actually is the worst gate.
Ryan Sullivan is looking to do something off the inside. He's doing a bit of a Hans Nielsen maybe. Just sneak it round the old white line on the opening lap.
Adams
did it in a consolation final,
Ryan
didn't he?
will feel quite comfortable on gate 1. I think he'll feel that he can make the start, maybe shovel everybody up and then turn back.
Greg made it, but he just didn't seem quick enough on his home track. He didn't seem fast enough, so Ryan maybe feels more confident with that.
Yeah, huge support here as the track announcer announces the top 4 men.
Mark Laram's got to make this count now.
He really has.
If he has an opportunity to really make a substantial lead in the World Championship
25
right here.
points are going begging here. His nearest challenger has had 14 out of tonight. He finished 6th, so Richardson only got 14.
Yeah.
So therefore, Mark can grab a whole 11 points more here then, and he's going to leave here leading the World Championship. Whatever he does, he can finish 4th in this race, and he's going to lead the series. We've only got 2 races left, of course, 2 more rounds
with
left.
2 wild cards in, you know, and Ryan Sullivan not really challenging for the World Championship. This is an opportunity where he has to make this pay.
I think there's going to be a major upset in this race. I've got to say, Martin Dugard, I mean, at the beginning he was on, what was he, 16-1, the betting from Ladbrokes. It was a situation where Martin Dugard, you wouldn't have gone for it, would you?
But we're just fumbling alongside you.
I did, actually, I did, yeah. I've got to say, Martin Dugard.
You've got to have a bit of luck sometimes.
I always get this completely wrong, but Martin Dugard, I actually put a $5 on. Can't believe it. If he goes and wins it, I'm a rich man.
Well, hey, but... now,
has there ever been a
winning bet from me? No.
No,
wildcard win.
Yeah.
No,
Has there ever been a British rider that's won the British Grand Prix?
No, there hasn't. Not since we've been in this system at all.
So Wayne Mark's got a lot of records to be broken here.
Mark Loram won a Grand Prix as a wild card in shopping in Sweden. So there has been a wild card, but not a British Grand Prix as in the Grand Prix series won by a British rider. So we've got two of them out there that could do it. We got the Aussies versus the Brits.
Now some of the Tony original.
Well, I think right now Ryan's up for it.
Yeah. I actually think Jason Lyons is up for it, even though he's coming off the outside.
My original man.
I think. Yeah, well, see, with Mark though, Mark was chasing already Ryan a couple times now, and he didn't have enough speed on Ryan, and Ryan's in the driver's seat here, and it seemed to take Mark about a lap before he got settled into it. So.
Let's start now. As they come to the line, the big decision has been made. They've chosen their gates. Off the inside will be Ryan Sullivan. Next to him will be Mark Loram. Gate 3 in white will be Martin Dugard, the man to watch, and Jason Lyons, he was given the short straw, has to go from the outside, but he'll make the most of that, and I'm sure making the most of this last race of the night. The final for the British Grand Prix. Tony Millard, wind yourself up.
Ron Sullivan, 25 years old from Adelaide. Mark Loram, who rides, of course, for Poole, 29 years old, born in Malta. Martin Dugard, born in Worthing, 31, goes from gate 3. Jason Lyons from Mildura in Victoria, Australia, age 30. He goes from the outside. A wild card, a replacement. Jason Lyons wouldn't full of envy this. But Mark Loram we watch, but on the inside, Ron Sullivan picks it up. Dugard round the outside, Loram on the inside. The grip picked up by Jason Lyons at the back, but Dugard is now in the challenging position. On the inside pole position is Ron Sullivan. He twists, he turns, Dugard picks it up and goes all the way round the outside. A brilliant ride by Martin Dugard, but here comes Mark Loram, is in pursuit of the rider in red, Ron Sullivan, and now Loram is going round the outside, but Dugard, the wild card, is in front, and with half the race to go, Dugard leads it. Loram is trying to get on turns, Peter. What a race!
Mark Loram nearly lost it there in that fence. Too much grip, but Dugard, what a ride from him to be holding this lead now.
Dugard goes into the final lap, the wild card. He didn't practice. He went home to sleep in his own bed last night, and now down the back straight, he looks set to take the British Grand Prix ahead of Ron Sullivan from Australia. Mark Loram is back in third place. He'll keep it tight, but Martin Dugard is the champion. Martin Dugard wins the British Grand Prix ahead of Ron Sullivan. A wild card allows the crowd to go wild. It may have been disappointing, the incident early on, perhaps with Chris Louis, but Martin Dugard, who didn't practice for one turn of the wheel yesterday, went down to Oxford with his mate Brent Collier to watch the Young International last night, went home and came up this morning, and he has won the British Grand Prix.
Unbelievable, Tony. What a ride from Martin. He really just showed everybody the way around tonight. There's no doubt he just kept plugging away and winning from the front. Hard riding. He faced this season with a possible suspension. He didn't get suspended. He grabbed the opportunity to ride with both hands. He's having a great year for Eastbourne in the Elite League. And to come here at individual level to win against the cream of the world is just something that is so hard to take in. This lad has got so much ability at 31 years old. He hopes to be in next year's GPs as well, but on the start, there, Mark Loram, he knows he's got to get as many points from this heat as he can, but on the first turn, Ryan Sullivan pushed Martin Dugard quite wide. Now Martin has got his wheels in line very, very early. Now just look at this cutback. Just skims the back tyre there of Ryan Sullivan. Also stops the run of Mark Loram. Mark was right in the hunt all the way through. Again, the first turn, Dugard runs wide. He turns early, gets his wheels in line. A knife edge ride down the inside there. You can see he's going to go for a blast around the outside of Ryan Sullivan. Now Martin, we know he normally likes the inside. He's such a good inside rider, but the way he comes down the outside there, Ryan Sullivan looks across and there was absolutely nothing he could do.
Well, a great night for Martin Dugard, a great night for Speedway. Dugard, as a wild card, takes the Grand Prix title ahead of Ron Sullivan. Mark Laram's 18 points, keeping him the lead, but it's still mighty tight against his rival and world champion, Tony Richardson. Jason Lyons, the replacement for Thomas Golob, takes 4th place and 16 Grand Prix points. They don't count in any final countdown. Mark Laram certainly do, and so too do those of Ron Sullivan. A tremendous night, and the British Grand Prix won by a British rider. What more could we ask, PC? A youngster who's enjoyed himself. Perhaps Martin Dugard, not quite so young.
Yeah, that statement.
Martin Dugard then gets 25 points tonight ahead of Ron Sullivan 20, Mark Laram 18, Jason Lyons 16, 15 for Lee Adams and 14 for Tony Richardson, which means that Tony Richardson's 14 points are only 4 less than Mark Laram, and Mark Laram goes into the last 2 Grand Prix leading by 4 points ahead of the World Championship. It will all be alive in the final Grand Prix in Bydgoszcz, and that, I'm sure, is what all Speedway fans want to see. It will be alive to the final Grand Prix. Chris Louis, of course, disappointing for him tonight with 8 points, the same as Michael KARLSSON. Peter KARLSSON and Todd WILTSHIRE 7 apiece. Jimmy Nielsen and Stefan Danner, the 2 Swedes, each gaining 6. Billy Hamler disappointing 5 points. Henrik Gustafsson 5. Carl Stonehewer disappeared early on with 4 points, the same as Tony Casper. Joe Screen and Lee Richardson, 2 Brits, only 3 points. Andy Smith once again among the also-rans with Brian Anderson. Disappointing for the Danes because they took the last 3 places. Brian Anderson, Brian Karger and John Jorgensen. But there is the man of the moment, Martin Dugard, and the lads in the studio, world champions all, will certainly greet this man with some credit, I'm sure.
Except me, of course, there, Tony, but thank you for including me in amongst that lot. Gary Havelock, you were the last British world champion back in 1992. What kind of pressure? It was a different system in those days. Oh, let's take a look at this. Mark Laram, there are 4 points to lead then. Mark Laram over Tony Richardson. Big lead over Billy Hamel in 3rd place. He's going to be disgusted with his night tonight. Jason Crump, disappointing night for him too. He could have won this series. Chris Louis also well out of it. Yeah. Thomas Golob, he was up there, well, until tonight, but sadly he is injured, and so he is out of the series at this moment in time. We wait for news on just how bad that break is. Gary, getting back to you. World final as things were. I mean, what's it like to be in this situation, to be under this kind of pressure?
No, it's really intense. It's hard to sort of explain it until you're actually there, you know. I mean, before my last race in the world final, I was nearly physically sick in the helmet. There was that much pressure, and people talking to me and everything, it seemed to go in like slow motion. But, you know, once I actually rode out onto the track, sort of gave myself a shake and went up to the start, you know, your subconscious mind just takes over then, and you just go for it.
Well, I can tell you, if you're waiting for WWF SmackDown, that's going to be in just a moment or two, but I'm going to smack down with Southern Sam here as well. You took over the World Championship from Gary in '93. Your thoughts on the World Championship as a whole?
Well, I put so much effort in trying to win them previous to my victory that I kind of almost gave up. I says, whatever happens, I'm going to go with it. And it was just a really, I had an open frame, and I just went out there and I won it.
Kelvin, you've been twice World Long Track champion and leading the World Long Track series at the moment. What's going through this man's mind at the moment, Mark Laram, apart from the enjoyment of leading the world?
Sure, certainly. I think he may feel slightly disappointed. He possibly feels it was an opportunity missed, but knowing Mark's sort of laid-back character, he'll go away and say, well, you know, it could have been worse. So I've made the A final, I'm 4 points in front, everything to race for.
Mark Dugard is ruthless, though, isn't he? He's had he was ruthless with Chris Louis earlier on in the evening.
Yeah, Martin was riding for himself. It's an individual event, you can't knock him for that, but he's actually done a remarkable job tonight. He's you know, he had an awful season last year. He had a lot of drama on and off the track, and he's bounced back this season. And to win his home Grand Prix, well, he's incredible, to be honest.
I have to tip my hat off personally to Martin, because I was one of the ones who didn't think he'd do very much in this meeting. You know, he's had them before, and he's just come, and he's not been real bothered. And you know, I personally thought he wouldn't do very well, and I have to say that you rode absolutely fantastically, and you deserve to win.
You read in the press to the build-up to this is kind of like his chance to make amends to his bad season last year, and you're kind of thinking, well, wait a minute, how can they say that? But they've done it.
He's absolutely done it in front of a huge crowd here. This really has been a very, very dramatic British Grand Prix. Mark Laram leads the world, and Martin Dugard, as a wild card, comes in and wins the British Grand Prix.
Sure.
That is a very special evening.
Britain to do it in Britain.
As you said earlier on, Sam, absolutely. The first Grand Prix to be won in Britain by Britain.
One of the things about the World Championship now, which was quite different from individual World Finals, is you've got to keep this level of performance up for nearly 2/3 of the season.
I have the distinct feeling this is going to go right to the last round, because Tony Richardson is not over and done with. That is for certain. You've seen some great riding from him on a track that didn't look to suit his style at all tonight.
No, he didn't have his bike dialed in. The only guy that really had it working perfectly was mine, Dugo.
Yeah.
You know, his was the only bike that when he put his wheels in line just took off, and he was passing people at pleasure. You know, Mark Loran battled. You could see it wasn't ideal for him. But, you know, it's a special night for Martin. When he retires, we'll look back on this evening and say, crikey, I did that.
He actually looks a little bit emotional there, I've got to say. The camera, as it closed in there,
I completely understand it.
But he's like portrayed as a bit of a tough guy. We've seen him in the odd fight, both physical and on track. And here he is, looking like a man slightly bemused by what he's managed to achieve this evening.
When he goes into the office first thing in the morning with Dugard machinery, so I should say it's going to take him a couple of cups of coffee to actually realise what he's done.
You know, if you read the history book about world champions, they said that they would go around and race league races all year round, but they would try to make sure they don't peak too soon.
Sure.
Like Kelvin said earlier, to win this kind of a championship, you got to be peaking 6 times in the whole year.
It is much more mentally demanding, and I think that now you've got a 6-round championship, and if it expands into a 9-round championship, you know, you can't give all every time you ride.
Well, we've seen a lot tonight, gentlemen. I've got to stop you there. We've run out of time. Gary Hovell, Sam Amalenko and Kelvin Tatum, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great British Grand Prix. We're going to leave you with an exciting closer to match an exciting British Grand Prix.